This podcast is part of the Everyday Heroes Podcast Network, the network for first responders and those who support them.
Disclaimer. All views expressed on What Makes Us Fire are solely those of the person or persons giving them. What Makes Us Fire does not represent or claim to represent any particular city or fire department, and therefore make the claim that all views and standpoints are affiliated with What Makes Us Fire and with What Makes Us Fire only. Any mention of certain fire departments or cities within the interviews are solely for informational and opinion-based dialogue. In short, if you have a problem with what's published, just say something about it and don't be a Richard.
What is up, What Makes Us Fire? This is Josh, your host of the What Makes Us Fire podcast, founder of the What Makes Us Fire nonprofit foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to helping our civil service members, be it military or first responders, active, retired, veteran, and our volunteers, get and receive inpatient mental health treatment. We do that by bridging the gap that is the financial aspect of going and receiving that treatment. Too often we have to make a decision of going to get that treatment and lose out on some finances, or continue our finances and supporting our family and lose out on the treatment. I created this nonprofit because it was a decision I had to make. And I don't want any other brother or sister out there that is sacrificing of themselves for others to feel like they have to make another sacrifice just to get better for themselves. If you'd like to learn more about the What Makes Us Fire nonprofit foundation, please visit www.whatmakesusfire.com. There you can learn a little bit more about the nonprofit. Check out some of the merch that we have, make donations, and of course, catch up on events and the podcasts that we have going on. Speaking of events, we have quite a bit coming up. What Makes Us Fire will be having a meet and greet in the Houston, Texas area on March 19th. Stand by for the details. Be on the lookout for that. On March 25th and 26th, we will be in Cocoa Beach, Florida for the Great Londini meetup benefiting Tackle 22 Fishing, a nonprofit of themselves that helps tackle the 22 a day by taking veterans out on these amazing fishing excursions, giving them something to look forward to. If you want to learn a little bit more about that event, you can go to whatmakesusfire.com, click on that events tab, or you can go to thegreatlondini.com and learn about more there. And then on April 2nd, we have a pub crawl in Houston, Texas. That's right, I said it, a pub crawl in Houston, Texas. If you want to learn more about that pub crawl in downtown Houston, go to whatmakesusfire.com. And then, of course, April 8th and 9th, the Cheer Choice Awards, put on by Spread the Cheer USA, sponsored by Soldier Solutions. Cheer Choice Awards is an award show being put on by Spread the Cheer USA to recognize creators that are making a difference not only on social media, but within their communities and around the world. What Makes Us Fire made it to the third round. Unfortunately, we didn't make it to the final round or the top 5 of the categories that we made it to, but we made it to the final round of voting in 3 different categories, and we cannot thank all of you, the What Makes Us Fire family, for going out there and getting us even that far. But we will be out there for the show to show our support and to have a good time. If you want to learn more, go to spreadthecheerusa.org or again, whatmakesusfire.com, hit that events tab. I want to say thank you to the Spagnoletti Law Firm for being our legal counsel here at the What Makes Us Fire nonprofit foundation. If you need any type of legal advice, litigation advice, or you're looking for a lawyer to help settle a deal, check out the Spagnoletti Law Firm here in the Houston, Texas area. I also want to put a huge shout out to the Everyday Heroes Podcast Network, a podcast network made for our first responders and civil service members and those who support them. Go check them out. There you will find a multitude of podcasts and other resources that are created by, hosted by, and ran by civil service members and first responders. Okay, now that that's all out of the way, my guest today on the show is Miss Melissa. Better known on her social media, let me rephrase. Getting really known on her social media as Army Wife Melissa. Melissa came on the show to share her story of what she's been going through and what she has actually recently gone through, and that is the loss of her husband. Melissa is a Gold Star wife, and how that came about, she has something to say about that. She has something to say about how she feels the VA system is working. She has something to say about how she feels about how they handled it. She gets a little bit all over the place, but that's nothing new because so do I. She is very passionate about this. She wants her story heard. She doesn't want to be silenced anymore. Not by herself or the people that surround her, because her story, she truly feels, is worth sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Melissa, better known as Army Wife Melissa on TikTok. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
You sure you can edit? It looks bright. I feel so bad. We should have done this before.
Stop. You're good. Stop. You're good. Everything is fine.
I had to put the army. I have to represent.
Yeah, we're doing it live. We're doing it live. We're good.
Like,
hey, Melissa.
I got banned off live anyway.
What'd you get banned off live for?
Live anymore.
What'd you do?
It said for nudity and
Well, why are you walking around naked on TikTok?
I was wearing a damn look. I wore like turtlenecks. I don't know. Some girl came in and was talking about something, and I just boom.
Some girl came in and was talking about something.
She came in and started. She's an army wife, but she's just yapping away and talking about her husband cheating and all this, and then boom, I was banned.
Have you appealed it yet?
Yeah, and
you haven't heard back.
No.
Did they say how long the ban was?
July.
Till July? What?
I don't know. I just blocked them. I just blocked her. I said, this is what I get for going live. And it was a good day too. I was having people come in and out. It was that day you came in. 2 days ago. The other day.
Right, when you were in the kitchen cooking, making some chicken stuff.
And then I went back in
an
hour or so, came back in. I got people coming in and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And she came in and she was an angry military spouse and started talking about her husband cheating. And I guess that's not the topic we should talk about on live.
No. If they banned you for nudity and stuff like that, it's probably because they think they saw something. The algorithm's not perfect, so you just have to appeal it, and then you can email them as well.
And I'm like, this has never happened to me before.
Right.
Well, it's happened once, but the other one was for bullying and harassing. I appealed it, but it took me a while.
Right. Well, they have a lot of appeals to go through. The algorithm's not perfect, so you can always just, again, after you do the appeal, send them an email too under the stuff. But anyway, that's nor here or there. You are good. You look fine. Everything's good. I can adjust the lighting. We're going to make you look great. It'll be fine.
I didn't wear makeup because I know that the waterworks are going to flow. That's
okay. It would have been more for dramatic effect at that point, but that's a joke.
I'd be like, please help me. No,
it's a joke.
That's done and over with already. Now I'm like, something's got to happen, you know?
And something will happen. Something will happen. Melissa, thank you for coming on the What Makes Us Fire.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
You've had a pretty damn busy morning so far, and you have been frustrated with the computer. So I want to start off this conversation with, just take a deep breath. You're just talking to me. I'm nothing special. I'm just a guy with a microphone and some ears, and I still don't know everything that I'm doing. So you're good.
You are special.
Yeah, I'm real special. I'm real special.
I tell you, I've been binge watching your podcast.
You've been binge watching the pod? Oh God! Please don't tell me you started with number one, because number one was the most horrible.
No, I've been just to get ready for today.
Oh, okay. What'd you think so far?
I just wanted to see what people were talking about, just to kind of get me, because I don't want to go in depth, and then but again, I did. I have.
And that's something else. If we go over anything, and because this is just a conversation between you and me, I just happen to be recording it. But if we go over anything that you don't want to be put out there, just let me know. Hey, I just remembered can you cut that part out? I'll be like, yeah, sure. No big deal. It's not a big, there's parts of my podcast where I've cut out like 15 minutes of conversation. You can't even tell. So it's okay. Like, I got this.
I can tell from the beginning, everybody's all tense, and then it starts calming down. I was watching that, like when I'm watching your, like they get tense, and then it's like, oh, after 15 minutes.
Yeah, after like 15, 20 minutes, they usually just like, yeah. And then because they start talking about something they know about or something they're passionate about, and it's like, that's the whole point. It's the whole point about this is just sharing your life experience, the experiences that you're going through, and how you are managing and going through them. That's all it is. The idea is to not be afraid to talk about what's going on. That's what this podcast is about. And I invited you on the show because you came into one of my lives and I saw what your screen name was, right? Army Wife Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay. She's Army Wife. So I went and I checked out some of your content and I was like, oh, she's not only an Army wife, she's a wife that lost somebody. And I was like, okay, all right. And then you ended up duetting one of my videos, which thank you. You didn't have to do, but I really did appreciate it. But I have spouses on the show. I have kids on the show. I have everybody that is a part within the civil service. I have them on the show. And families included in that because there is a sacrifice being made by the family just as much as the individual that's doing the job. You are the first individual I had on the show, or I have on the show, that is actually part of something that I'm trying to fight. And that is being the spouse of somebody who, and I'm very blunt when I talk about this because that's the way it should be.
I want to reiterate about the 22 because I think we kind of fell off track. My husband was almost one of the 22.
Almost one of the 22.
But because he was misdiagnosed with cancer in the military.
Okay.
And he ended up, he was almost there, but he ended up having a heart attack.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's a story that's what I was going to try to tell Brittany. I said, did somebody tell him my husband was a 22? I'm big on it because my husband had. So this is going to be raw and real.
Okay.
My husband was an alcoholic, a functioning alcoholic.
Okay.
He was almost there because he was misdiagnosed with cancer.
Okay. And
there's been a few times that he's tried to.
Okay.
Because of his health, but it ended up he had a heart attack in our bedroom and passed away.
Okay.
So,
well, thank you for clearing that up.
I wanted to because I'm like, how do I go about doing it? And I didn't want to do it on your lives.
Look, here's the thing: if I'm misrepresenting,
so it was close to me because we had someone really close to us that is a 22,
right? And that's fine. Here's the thing: correct me as soon as you can. If I'm putting out information that I believe is true, but it's just a miscommunication. It's not like you lied to me or anything. It was just a miscommunication, and it was a misinterpretation on my part. It's no big deal.
I think it was misinterpreted because I said he almost was a 22, but 22 a day. We have somebody really close to us that did it.
Well, here's the thing. You dealt with a husband that was in the military. Diagnosed with cancer and went through his mental health issues, suicidal ideations, suicidal attempts, right? So he might have not been part of the 22 a day, but he is definitely part of the systemic problem that is our mental health within the civil service realm, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he definitely battled with that stuff.
Yes.
Thank you for clearing it up. And that was on me for assuming. Thank you for clearing that up. But here's the thing. It's no big deal for me. It is what it is, right? It was just a misinterpretation. No big deal. But the conversation is still relevant.
Yes, it sure is. And I didn't know because I actually even wanted to bring all his medication. And like I didn't know what we can show or not because they push all those medications on a on our veterans. And a lot of them, like my daughter's going to school for pharmacy. I worked in mental health for years, Josh. I worked, you're from here, El Paso Behavioral Health. I worked with them. I see them. I work in the military unit. And it's just so sad because the majority of them come in because they're suicidal. They don't know how to adapt. What do you call it? They have visions. They still remember like they're fighting a war in their head, and even though it was years later, they fight it every day. And I see them every day. Some of them, I see them, they recycle back in because they get to the point they just want to end their life or there's no help. And when they do, it's always too late. Someone calls them because they're about to, you know what I mean? And there's nothing, there's no help for them. And I wish that there was. And then when you've been in the military for so long, and just like me, I'm still trying to adapt, get thrown out there. There's nothing like, what do we do? It's a whole new world for us because military life and civilian life is completely different. And this is what I was want to let people know. There's a difference. We get treated differently than, you know what I mean?
No, I get it. So, and we're going to get into all of this conversation, and I will help guide you through your explanations of everything, because I know you have a lot of emotions and a lot of things that you want to say about specific instances. And I'm going to try my best to help guide you through that because I'm interested in all that. Like, I have my experience with my family through the military and everything else. And so, but you have a different story. So I'm going to try to help guide you through those things, and we'll try to stay specific on point. Yeah. It's okay if we go off on rabbit trails. I love fucking rabbit trails because it helps us get an idea of how the person comprehends things and how they look at certain situations. And it gives us more of a personal feeling of when we go off in rabbit trails and ideas. However, I want to take us back a little bit. Okay. I want to start a little bit before we get into the nuts and bolts and the beans and weenies of it all. I like letting everybody know how I met you on social media and how I got you on the show. And I basically explained that. I saw what you were about. I saw your page. You started following us. You said thank you for a video that I made a while back.
Oh yeah.
And I was very appreciative. And I saw your story, and I messaged you, and on personal messenger I messaged you, and I was like, hey, I would love to talk to you, and I love what you're doing with your social media, and I would love to give you a platform to share your story. And you've been asked by other podcasts and other people to share your story, and you decided to do mine. This one being your first podcast, and I promise you, and I like taking credit for this. So this is me kind of being a little bit pompous. I am a great first stepping stone. What Makes Us Fire is a great first stepping stone getting into sharing your story on other podcasts and stuff like that. And the reason why I think you should do other podcasts, because not everybody who listens to this podcast listens to those other podcasts. So that means you're going to be able to reach more audiences the more you're able to share your story. And I promise you, the more you share your story, the more you talk about it, the more you share how you're dealing with it, the easier it's going to become for you. So it's not necessarily for everybody else. It's for you. It helps you. But in the process of helping yourself, sharing your story is going to be able to help others. How is she making it through? What are the steps she's taking? I didn't even think about taking that step. And then you're going to have people reaching out to you and be like, hey, have you thought about this? Have you tried about that? Sharing your story about what you go through and what you struggle with is beneficial beyond ways that I can even describe. You're going to have people reaching out to you with solutions and ideas that maybe you've never thought about. And then you'll have people reaching out to you hearing how your solutions and ideas worked for you. So you can actually become an advocate in helping other people. And when you help other people through what you're going through, it's a therapy. A lot of the times you'll have aha moments just talking to other people about your struggle. And you'll be like, you know what? Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, we should try that together, and stuff like that. So the more you share about it, the louder you talk about it, the more you talk about it unapologetically and as raw as possible, it's beneficial.
I believe it is.
Well, therapy, psychiatrists, science itself says it's beneficial.
Yes.
But just statistics alone say it's beneficial to share your story and to talk about it as much as you can. And
It's different
as
from
reasonable.
a cultural standpoint, though, because I come from a different culture.
That's
So
true. That
we're supposed
is
to be okay.
that, and we'll get into that because that actually is very, very, very important when we start talking about this, because there are cultural differences and things that we have to work through and stigmas within our own culture and backgrounds that we have to break so we can be better.
Let me tell you, I'm kind of getting cold shoulders from family doing this interview right now.
Well, you know what?
We women are not supposed to talk about what happens in our home.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If there's anybody giving you the cold shoulder for doing something that's beneficial for you and your family, do they really belong in your family? Or do they really care about you as much as they say they do? They might care about you as much as they say they do in their own way, but they're not caring about you the way you feel like you need to be cared about. And that's what matters. How you feel you need to be cared about to be better for you, that's more important than their opinion of how you should be acting or going about your own personal health. Right?
I know. It's just a cultural thing with me. I mean, with how I grew up, you know how it is.
Oh, yeah. And it's not easy. It's not easy, going against family or going against the idea of the family and then having them kind of give you the cold shoulder or being pissed off at you for sharing your dirty laundry. But here's the thing. You're not the only one that has dirty laundry. And I promise you,
everybody.
Your dirty laundry is probably very, very, very similar to other people's dirty laundry, because guess what?
We're just more open about it.
Guess what? Everybody's laundry gets dirty at some point. If you live life, your laundry is going to be dirty at some point.
Exactly.
There's going to be more people that can relate to that quote unquote dirty laundry than you ever thought you could imagine, because you kept it in so long and didn't think anybody else was going through that same type of thing. And then you start sharing your story and you realize, oh shit, I thought I was the only one that went through shit like this.
Exactly.
And you're not. So, and by the way, this is a raw podcast. You can use whatever language you want to describe whatever you want. I talked to you a little bit. You sound very, very humble, very, very kind. You're like the sweetheart next door that doesn't like to cuss too much. The sweetheart next door doesn't like to cuss too much. And you hear a cuss word and you're like, how dare you? When I talk to you, I was just like,
that way. No, I'm not. Honestly, that's why if you ever notice on my TikTok, it says not your typical army wife, because I do curse and I do drink and
Well, like I said, if you wanted to go get a drink, I'm having a little nip.
No, I'm not. I know, and everybody perceives me as that, and I'm not. So I guess when I went crazy on my TikTok, I got banned because they're used to seeing me just cooking and
being the quintessential
but I'm
mom
not.
at home.
But I'm not.
No, you're not. And that's another reason why after talking to you, I realized, okay, she's that really, really nice person that when she cusses, you're like, did she just,
Yes.
what the?
That's what people say.
Did she just say say that again? Did you just say fuck? Say fuck again.
Right?
Oh, I want to hear you say it just for mine.
Fuck.
There you go.
I was like, fuck it. Hey, I do it now. It has come out. The
Good.
beast inside. It has. It's
Good.
been a rough few years, so.
I wouldn't even say it's a beast. It's not a monster. It's not a beast. It's actually your true emotions finally not being stagnant or stigmatized because you've been holding it in, right? It's like, you know what? It's time for me to let people know how I feel. And that's it, right? But I'm sorry. See, look, rabbit trail, ADHD.
For years, you have to, as a military spouse, it's like you got to be, and then when they move up in rank, you really got to really pretend.
And that's funny.
And it gets old.
You are not the first person I've heard say that. Not the first person I've heard say that.
You just get like, I'm like, I didn't sign the contract. You did. So why do I have? Yeah, it just gets old.
We'll dive into that too. I promise you. We're going to dive into a little bit of everything.
Fucking sucks.
I do got to ask though.
I'm holding on. It's been the longest time I've been wanting to get my voice out. I've been wanting to just be free.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is, nobody was stopping you from doing that but yourself.
Exactly.
And once you come to that realization, you're able to fight that idea. You start feeling a little bit more free. A little bit. You still got some work to do. You still got things to process and everything else. But you feel a little bit more free. You don't feel as restricted in the possibilities and the kind of help that you're going to be open to accepting.
See women like out there, actually having a voice, and it's like, you start seeing a whole, like I said, when you go into the civilian world, you see a whole different kind of world.
Right.
So, what is going on here? What am I missing? I missed all this for all these years.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hindsight's always 20/20, right? Hindsight's always 20/20. So
it was the path that God chose for me, and it's the path I chose. So
I think that's more of it. I think it's more of the latter. It's the path you chose, because things happen to us in life that we didn't ask for, and then we have to make the choice on how we deal with it. So you chose. It was presented to you, and then you chose how to deal with it.
And coming from a family that I come from, I get it. I get it all. I mean, the past few years, it's been like, wow,
I want to ask you, what was the driving factor for you to finally say yes, and why What Makes Us Fire to be on the podcast?
So let's go back to social media. So when I finally was able to go on social media, and of course I discovered TikTok, like my husband and I discovered TikTok through our daughters. Mm-hmm. And, we can't do social media. We can't talk about politics, religion, all that. So we were at that point now, like, okay, we're getting introduced to the civilian world. We got to make the best of it, right? Mm-hmm. There's no therapy for us. We don't do therapy. So my daughters are always dancing and we like to have fun. So as a family, we always wanted to share what each other was doing. Mm-hmm. So we're like, okay, what is this TikTok thing, social media? It was to keep track of our daughters on social media. So we got on social media, loved all the funny stuff on there. We didn't want to dabble into the politics, as my husband was like, he was done with that. But we had a close friend. Mm-hmm. My husband always had a big thing for firefighters because we have one of his friends was a firefighter that.
Did he pass? It's okay. He passed away. Did he pass away in the line of duty?
Yeah. And
okay.
So we always had a thing for firefighters. And then, how do you say it? My husband always just had a heart for you guys. He saw you guys more out in the community, and so did I. More out in the community with the boots on the side of the road. Like I said, he just was so drawn to firefighters. So was I, because we saw you more, not just because I think it's because of his friend, but the passion you guys have for even the people in the community. Mm-hmm. So when we got onto TikTok and we saw firefighters, police officers, we were so drawn, like, my husband was, we found you. My husband was still here when we found you.
Really?
Yes. If you go back to my old videos, my husband was my camera guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we would follow, we just firemen, whatever. And then he passed away. I think a month or two later, you had popped up on my FYP.
The For You page.
Again, because we were following you. Because you know how when you pop up on social media and you like somebody and you came up and it just hit me. That video hit me, the one that, and we've been following you since. And then, so how it all came about too is when my husband retired and we went to move to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. He always was at the fire station. He made friends with them. we would bring them food. And let me tell you, they would always check up on my husband. They would always step by. Like, we knew him personally, even the paramedic and stuff. And the day my husband passed away and he had a heart attack while you guys took him out, you guys all came, a few police officers, and you guys stayed with me until you guys, the firemen, and I just want to thank them so much, because they were the only ones that have helped me this whole entire year, out of that whole city. I mean, the whole community. They would come and check on me. They would drive by. They'd literally just do drive by every week, because it's just me and my daughter, checking on me, bringing me some food, and because my husband, and so when he had a heart attack, and let me tell you, like, I think like the whole city stopped. I've never seen so many of you guys at my house, because when they heard the name over the call, it was like, so my daughters and I, whenever we make extra food, just like I did yesterday, we went to the VFW. I always think of you guys. I just think of you guys as anyways. Can't even go.
No, you're good. So here's the thing.
So,
I want to stop you. I'm going to give you a minute to breathe. I'm going to stop you. Give you a minute to breathe. Relax. I appreciate the fact that you understand that when we make a connection with somebody in the community, they become part of the brotherhood and sisterhood. That
you guys are more helpful to people out in the community, honestly. I mean, seriously.
Well, I appreciate you recognizing that. I really do. Here's the thing. We don't do it for the recognition. If we didn't like you, you wouldn't see us. There's a reason why, firefighters and our brother firefighters came around. There's a reason. And the reason was we had respect for you and your husband. And I say we in a general term. I wasn't there. All right. I'm just a firefighter, but I say we because we're a brotherhood throughout the country. If you're a firefighter, throughout the world, really, if you're a firefighter, there's this similarity and there's this connection that we have, that you can put 500 different firefighters never met each other ever in one room, and I guarantee you it would take less than 10 seconds for a conversation to start happening and everybody to start laughing and having a good time. It's just something that it's innate. It's within us. And if you become a part of that, civil service really in general, firefighters, police officers, EMTs, cops, I said police officers, I don't know why I said that twice, military personnel, if you put us all in a room, sooner or later, I'd say within a minute, we're all going to be laughing and talking and having a good time, joking around. And it's this brotherhood and sisterhood that is unexplainable. It's unexplainable. You can't explain it. No matter how hard you try, it is what it is. But I want to guide you back to the original question. I'm going to guide you back to the original question. Why did you agree to come on to this podcast with What Makes Us Fire?
So before What Makes Us Fire, when we were following you, it wasn't What Makes Us Fire. So I'm like, wow, did he branch out to something else? And I started seeing, like, what are you doing? Because, and then I started reading, because I'm observing and I'm reading, and I'm like, he's got something going. And I know that you're giving to the community. You're helping other people, and I know it's genuine. You get what I know that what you're doing is genuine. And from all the other ones, I felt it wasn't. They were just probably needing a guest. You were putting something out there to help the community. You're putting something out there to help others. You're giving back. I see what you're doing. Your drive to, it's just unbelievable. You have no idea.
I appreciate that.
You have no idea what you're doing. And you inspired me from the beginning. You inspired my husband. You inspired my husband. I wish he was here. You inspired my husband. I had to show my daughter. I said, remember that video you guys want? Because I had to put it on private because it got to our little one. And I said, remember that video you guys didn't want me to, you wanted me to just take off because I left it on for about a week or so. And they're like, Mom, you can't. It was getting to them. They said, you know, that video that inspired me, I'm going to be on his podcast today. And they're like, and so like my daughters, we have them. I had my daughter look you up and everything. And she's like, no way, Mom, you need to do it. Dad would want you to do it. And I said, I'm going to do it. Because for the past few days, I'm like, I don't want to do it. Do I do it? You know, and they're like, Mom, do it. It's for a good cause. You got to do it. So.
How old are your daughters, if you don't mind me asking?
22 and 24.
Okay.
They're older, but.
So they're older, so they understand what's going on and the magnitude of the situation and everything else. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I really do appreciate that sentiment. I do. And you are right. I have no idea what I'm doing for people. And to be completely honest with you, what I'm doing on social media and the videos that I put out and everything else, they're not necessarily to inspire anybody in particular. The videos are for me. The videos are my journey through my process of healing with my depression and my anxiety, my PTSD, and sharing the struggles, sharing the triumphs, sharing the accomplishments, the failures. Because to me, I've seen within the civil service that sharing that part of being a human, it was frowned upon, wasn't really well received.
I know.
And that was an issue for me because it's not frowned upon, because it wasn't so well received, we feel like we have to stay in our own heads, and then we feel alone. We feel no one's listening, nobody cares. And I have found that doing this, sharing, it's the complete opposite. It's this idea in our heads that we're not appreciated, or the struggles that we go through are unappreciated. It's an idea in our own heads. It's not necessarily the truth. And so
you were doing the same thing. You were using it as therapy.
Correct. Correct. And I even asked my therapist, I even asked her specifically, I said, do you think it's a good idea if I share my story on social media? Before I even started putting videos like I did out there. And I told her, because I see some people on social media that have helped me. They're sharing their stories, their struggles, their processes through their stories on social media by sharing what they went through, sharing what they struggle with, sharing how they got through it, sharing how they're trying to get through it. And it's helping me feel like I'm not so alone. And I want to start trying to do the same thing. I told her I want to try doing it. Those are my words. I said, I want to try sharing my story on social media because I see these other people doing it and it seems like it's helping them. And I was willing to try anything to get out of the state I was in. And she said, actually, that's actually very healthy for you to do, because the more you talk about it, the more you speak out loud about it, the less power you give it. Because when we're dealing with those things, we're in our heads with those things. We're struggling them within our minds. But we start saying it out loud and we allow people to know what's going on in our heads and how we're dealing with them and the struggles we're going through. Then all of a sudden you have people like, I understand. I hear you. Hey, that feeling you have, yeah, you got it from a different experience, but you're not alone in that feeling. I understand that feeling. I understand how you're feeling about yourself right here, because I felt the same way. And then you don't feel like your struggle is your own anymore. Your struggle is now, it's put out there. And yes, you still have to deal with it on your own, but you're not necessarily alone in your struggle, if that makes sense. Right? So I do my videos and I share the content that I make, and they're videos that I make for me. A lot of the times the videos you see are me talking to myself. Me expressing how I should be talking to me. And somebody sees that and they allow it to mean something to them. They gave my words power to themselves. I didn't go inside their brains and switch the little switch that says, hey, listen to these words. This is going to mean something to you. I didn't do that. They are allowing it to happen without even recognizing the fact that they are allowing it to happen.
And then it just starts flowing. You just start making them. It's like, I make them every day. I was like, now my daughter's like, you're on TikTok all the time.
Good.
Like, they're not on it. And then it's like, what are you doing putting all this stuff on TikTok? Well, it makes me feel good. It does. Like, I feel good. When I tried to get away from it, it was like, oh no, I can't. I wasn't able to.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're allowing me to, you know, have you here on the show, interview and talk to you about your story. I appreciate the fact that you chose this podcast to be the one that you start sharing the story in. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I want to go back before we get into everything that you've been through and everything. I want to go back a little bit, and we don't have to go through your whole life story or anything like I've done with other guests, but I do want to start when you met your husband. I want to start there. I want to start when you first met him. How did you guys meet? What were the feelings like? What was the relationship like? What did you guys go through as a couple? Let's go through that, because I want to build the relationship that you guys built within everybody's minds, because I want them to understand the struggles and the triumphs and the failures and the accomplishments through a relationship that is being with somebody that's in the military service.
It's not easy.
That's for damn sure.
We're going to have to go there. A lot of sacrifices, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, I'm absolutely.
I know how you were doing it. It's like this. Well, years ago, we didn't have this.
No, we didn't.
So it's letters. It's not even letters. It's like, yeah, you're sitting here looking out the window 24/7, just, because you don't want that knock on the door.
Right. So how'd you guys meet? Let's go back. How'd you guys meet?
We met. His sister was my best friend.
Oh, one of those. Well, you went for the older brother, didn't you? Or the younger brother?
Older.
Oh, of course you did. You went for the older brother.
But he wasn't my type. He wasn't my type. I was like, nobody could not have a chance. Long hair rocker guy, no. And me, little cheerleader, no. Like, we were completely opposite. Like, opposite.
Uh-huh.
No. Well, he joined before him and I actually, he was already gone.
Dating. Okay.
Yeah.
So you met him back when high school?
Out of high school. So,
out of high school. Okay.
I went through my wild stage because I was a Catholic schoolgirl. Catholic private school girl. Hey,
girl. Hey, I know. I'm not saying you're perpetuating the stereotype right now, but that sentence that you said, I was a wild girl because I grew up as a Catholic schoolgirl, literally perpetuated.
But when you just leave it, you're like, it's a release. It is. It's like, yes, we were Catholic. Yeah. Because we're like so conformed into this life. And then, like I said, just like military life, it's like you conform into this life. And then when you actually get a little piece of that and you know it's good, it's like, crap. That's why Catholic schoolgirls go wild crazy when they're released something wild. And let me tell you the stories.
I could only imagine. All right, so you're shortly after high school.
Yes.
Right? You and your best friend are hanging out.
I was with somebody else.
Okay.
Because like I said, my husband was not my type. Well, right. He was not my type. I was more into the dark hair, blue eye. My husband is like blonde, almost ginger. Mm-hmm. So he was not my type at all. But this man would not stop. But then, when you have the sister as a best friend, he's always lingering there in the corner, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, shoot right on in. And he actually he deployed to Korea. Mm-hmm. And who I was with then, he was military also. They went to they went to basic training together also. But now we're going to bring up the past.
Well, that's the point.
But it was rough. So I was with him before I was with my husband, and it was the worst. Let me tell you.
So it wasn't a healthy relationship.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's fine.
So, my husband, he was like out of the picture, and that, it's like, oh, military guy, oh, you like men in uniform, but then when they go, that's completely, and I'm like 20 years old.
Right, you're a young girl.
You don't want to be alone.
Just got out of Catholic high school, yeah.
And him and I were together for a while.
Okay, so I can see that you're having a little bit of trouble trying to explain your prior relationship before you and your husband were together. I'm not going to ask you.
It was really bad that I had to file
protective order.
Standing order against him. He would lock me up in the room. It was really bad. But like I said, if my husband didn't come in when he did, I don't think I would have been here.
Okay. So how did that happen? How did that's an interesting story. So you don't have to get into detail.
And I were still best friends. We were still friends at that time. And so I went to Kansas, to go to college.
Okay.
And that's how I met. That's where my sister, my best friend there. But I was still with Shad. And because he had me to threaten me if I was to leave him. And here's the soldier, right? Like, trained to kill. So I'm afraid. I'm like, okay, you just stay. And the worst 2-3 years it was about 3 years of my life, that I was with this man. I didn't tell nobody. My family knew I was there for college, and I got pregnant with my daughter.
Okay.
So I'm in college, right? Pregnant with my daughter. Family doesn't know, because if they found out, I would have to get married, because that's how my culture was.
Right.
So because of the way he was, nobody knew I was even pregnant. I had my daughter on my own. He had training, and I'm with his mom. And here I am. And my husband's still right, still always right there. But I was trying to protect him from who I was with. So he's just, and so I finally went home on Thanksgiving with, Christmas time. It was come Christmas, it's college. The dorms are closed. You have to go home. So this whole time I hid the pregnancy of my daughter. Family didn't know till I had to go home. And here I have a baby, and disappointed my parents, disappointed my grandparents. And so what happens now is, here I get these threatening things from Shad, her dad, my oldest's dad. So I'm fighting to protect my family, because he's threatening to kill my family and everybody else if I don't come back. So I'm lying to my parents. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? And I'm so fearful of this man, because he would lock me up in the room. The only way I got away from him is because he went to training. So I'm like, I'm going to go home. But then I still lied to my parents about him, because the threat, it was like threatening he's going to come and kill my family.
Right. The psychological damage that he did with the threats was so strong that even though you knew you needed safety, you still had to lie. That's interesting, because we're taking this into,
I really
a different
don't
conversation.
talk to them too much because of my daughter. Yeah.
That's okay. These are stories. Look, so I think they're old enough that these are stories that they need to hear. Right. And I think they're old enough to recognize the fact that this is your story, and this is your perspective of what happened. I always say there's always 3 sides to every story, right? What happened to you, what happened to them, And then somewhere in the middle, there's a lot of truth. But what happened to you is true to you. So it doesn't necessarily mean your story
This is the part
is
my
not
family
true.
didn't want. Yeah. My
Right?
family didn't. It's like a family secret because.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It shouldn't be a secret.
No.
Right? This is your truth. This is your story. This is the story through your eyes. Okay? People might that were in and around this when it happened might have different versions of this story. But we're not talking about their versions. We're talking about your version. And
I want to talk about how men in uniform, they're looked at differently.
Right.
So
correct.
if I was to say this, I'm the crazy one because they're the dedicated soldier. I'm just the wife complaining. So
no. See, that I think is, again, a misconception by spouses within the civil service. This is a misconception that they have. Now, don't get me wrong. I've heard plenty of stories from spouses where they are not enlisted. They're just with the person that's enlisted. And all the friends of the enlisted individual are making the spouse to look crazy, to look like, how could you? This man, we know this man, we know this woman. They're dedicated to what they do. They would never do what you're saying they're doing. How the hell, but here's the thing. It's not their story to fucking tell, and they weren't there to know whether it's the truth or not. They're just going off based on an idea and a perception that their brother or sister in the military gives them. Right? And because they have, and because they have a tight-knit bond, and it's not right or wrong. I want to say this. It's not right or wrong. But because there's such a tight-knit bond and because there's such a camaraderie and something that they can rely on each other on, something that they've both been through, they have similar experiences, trust leans to them.
Even a lot of it in society see it that way too.
Right. There are.
You're so closed in and to not talk about anything. Oh, you're going to talk about him?
Right.
Yeah, man in uniform. So we're looked like as,
Look, here's the thing. Whether it's a man in uniform, a man in a badge, a woman in uniform, woman on a badge, whether it's a male firefighter, female firefighter, it doesn't fucking matter. Here's the thing. Whether you wear a uniform for the U.S. military, or you're a civil service member, and you wear a badge, or you're a firefighter, you're an EMT, or you're a nurse, or you're a doctor, doesn't matter. Here's the baseline thing. Before we were any of those things, we were human beings, and human beings are flawed. Mm-hmm. End of fucking story. Just because you wear a uniform does not make you better than or less than the individual that is not wearing the uniform. I agree.
And I agree with that. I always have.
Right.
But like I said, some people
there is, don't get me wrong.
Have a different mind. Yeah.
There's a notoriety and there is a perception of people who wear the uniform that that doesn't necessarily mean that notoriety or perception should be attached to every individual that wears the uniform or a badge. Okay? Is it generally true that somebody who wears a uniform or a badge or who serves tends to be respectful, yes, there is definitely a general thing like that, that if you see somebody in uniform, you generally can trust them. Generally, they're going to be a pretty good person.
Yes, and that's the thing too.
Right. But that's a general thing. There are exceptions to the rules here because we're human beings first. The person that's wearing that uniform, the person that's wearing that badge is a human being first, and not all human beings fall into the general guidelines of what a person who wears the uniform or badge tend to be. Not
all of them are, good.
Yeah, exactly.
But a lot of people perceive them as all good. You know what I'm saying?
And it's not true. It's not true. And this is not me. This is not me bashing on the uniform or bashing on the badge. This is not you bashing on the uniform or bashing on the badge. This is us acknowledging the fact that whoever wears the uniform and or a badge is a human being first.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is. We are human being first, and human beings are flawed.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we can be flawed. Not everybody who wears a uniform or wears a badge is a good person. Not everyone.
I agree. They're not.
Right? And that's okay. That's okay to say out loud. It's
I
okay
know. I want people to say that. I want people to hear that. They're not all like, yeah.
They're not all the perception.
No.
Okay?
You need to get it out of people's heads too.
Generally, sure, on a general basis, but it is not the absolute. And we need to recognize that, because if we don't recognize that, stories like yours with your first relationship prior to your husband, stories like yours are going to go untold. They're going to feel like they have to stay silent. And that's when bad things happen.
And a lot of it at that time, yes, we stay silent.
Stay silent.
That's why now, let me tell you, the backlash I've been getting since I've been on social media, and you know what? Do I give a fuck? No. And finally, I feel free. You have no idea. I've held in for years because you can't say this, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't make. And then, of course, then you have this in my mind too. I'm scared to talk about it because both of them were both military.
Yeah, but you know what they are besides military? Human.
Gotcha.
That was weird.
Okay, Jason.
They're both human. Anybody that puts on that, you can go ahead and fix it. Go ahead. You can fix it. Oh, you're just going to take it down?
This is like, this really sticks up. Are you telling me to stop talking?
No, he's not.
He calls me a squirrel all the time. He's like, she just goes off track. Be careful.
No, it's okay. That's why I said I'm going to do my best to try to keep us on track. But
he's in here though. He really is.
The idea is we are human beings.
Exactly.
End of fucking story. Doesn't matter if you're a military personnel, a firefighter, or a cop. You're a human being first. Doesn't make you better than or less than the next individual. End of story.
I need to put it out there. That was my life. And
for a short period of time.
Let me tell you, when I told you I was going to go to this podcast, what are you going to say? You can't bring this up. I'm like, oh, hell. I'm reading. I'm just going to go. I'm going with the flow. Whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth because I'm saying my truth.
Correct.
My story.
Correct.
Not your story. You can't sit here and tell me what to do because you weren't living my life 24/7. That's, I had to tell some people that you are not living my life 24/7 the past 45 years. So what I say is my truth. It needs to come out. People need to start talking. A lot of spouses don't want to talk. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of cousins that are military wives. They don't come out and talk. And they probably had worse than I have with their husbands.
I'm going to stop you right there. No. I'm going to stop you. You say worse.
Like.
Here's why I'm going to stop.
Let me go back.
All right. No, here's why I'm going to stop. I'm not telling you you're right or wrong. All right. That's your opinion. Not right or wrong. But I'm going to challenge you to think not worse, different.
Different. They stayed in it, whereas I got out of it.
Right. Different. And the reason why I say different is because there's probably some people out there that'd be like, oh, you think you had it bad? I would have loved to be in the situation you were in. And vice versa. I would have much rather been in the situation you can be like, I would have much rather been in the situation you in. And then they'd be like, really? Because this is what I'm going through. Are you sure this is what you would want? So different. And it's not better, not worse, different.
Different.
It's an idea. And the reason why I say that is because everybody's perception of a situation that they're in, right, is their own perception. And so it's easy for you to say better or worse.
And it's sad too.
Right. It's easy for you to say better or worse, but it's not necessarily better or worse. It just depends on the perception of the individual looking at it. So it's different.
Right? Whereas I escaped and they stayed. And
and that's their choice. And until they realize that's their choice, that's when they'll make
And that's why we need to stop the thing about, there's this big thing about domestic violence and everything. I don't know. I try not to dip into that because it's a past that I never wanted to dig up again. And, I need to talk about it because it was rough. It was really rough. And it was a fight to leave. It was because he used that uniform as a way to get me to stay.
And that's the thing. That's something that needs to be said, because there are some bad actors within any realm of civil service, right? We are not all perfect. Yeah, we're not all perfect. Some of us are just shitty people. And that's what it comes down to.
And that's what happened. It's like, you can't leave me, or I'm going to take it all from you. They use the military, that uniform, as a way to get out of, what is it? Get out of jail free card or whatever it's called. Yeah, they use that all the time. It was their scapegoat. Many of them do. Many of them do.
It was their scapegoat. It was their excuse for their behavior.
And it's like, yeah. So then we get scared. Mm-hmm. It's like, what do we do? And then it's like, we're going to take all this from you. You can't have this and that. But the thing is they put it in our head too. It's like they manipulate you to think this is what really happens in the army. Like, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you leave me and, you're not going to have all this money. Or, it was like, go get yourself a lawyer because I got jabbed. He scared me to think I can't go anywhere. I have to stay with him. Mm-hmm. And that if I do, that his daughter, he was going to take her because he's got the backing through the military. It's always like, the military got me. They got me. They're not, So it's a manipulation. And the way he would scare me, like, you can't touch me. Try to call the cops. I tell them I'm in the army. They're not going to do nothing to me. Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't call the cops because then, I'm like, in my mind, they're not going to help me because they're going to see who he was.
And it makes sense in your head, even though you don't necessarily know it's true or not.
And I didn't know, because then they try to not have, you don't have a phone, you don't have anything, because they keep all that from you, from the outside world. And all you know is this military life. Some of the women are probably going through the same thing we are. So we're all like, we can't talk to anybody else because we're so scared to tell everybody what's going on at home because he's going to beat us. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen when he comes home. You're not home, food's not ready. It's like a boom. Yeah.
And I want everybody listening to understand that this is just her individual story, right? Don't get me wrong. Your story is unique to you, and there are similar stories. And there's a lot of similar stories. But this is your story. And you're not talking about everybody.
No,
right?
Not
okay.
No. And then when you're on base, who are you going to call out, the MP? Like, you know what I mean? They're buddies. What are they going to do for me?
In your head, that's the idea.
In my head.
Right.
So now I'm trying to think what was happening in my head.
Right.
So you're fearful of even being 5 minutes late or even calling anybody. Or like I said, he would tell me, call the police. What are they going to do to me? And that's what was terrible. And you live
in fear.
Horrible. 3 years and I finally got away.
So you go home and you finally find a way out. And
it was a struggle.
I'm sure it was, because here you are with a child.
Yeah.
Here you are with a child that your family has no idea about. And you're leaving with your child away from an abusive spouse.
In the middle of the night.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You left.
Yes.
And you left to a pretty tough situation, but it still felt safer than the current situation you're in.
Still scared though, out of my mind.
And I get it. Threats of harm, and of any type of harm, financial harm, you're going to be left out on the streets. These are all mental threats, right?
And then you don't tell your family because you don't want. Then when you do finally tell your family, they're like, think you made it all up, or it's like they're even asking themselves, how come they didn't see all this? Like, why didn't they see it?
Here's the thing: you didn't see it because 99% of the time it happens behind closed doors. It's as simple as that. People who are narcissists, people who are afraid, people who know how to hide who they truly are not going to reveal it to the people they want to look at them in a good light. They're only going to reveal it to the person that they're abusing. right?
Yeah.
That's what narcissists do. It's, I am going to make you feel like you're the crazy one.
Yes.
Like you're the bad one, even though I'm the one doing all the bad things. Right? It's textbook, narcissism. It's textbook, mental abuse. It's textbook. And that's what you were going through. And I want to push through this because I know, you know, it's a little bit of a tough subject, and I completely understand. But I love the fact, and I appreciate the fact that you shared that you went through something like that. I think that people do need to know that speaking up is the way to get through, and is the only way that you're going to start seeing change.
I never used to. We could, like I said, and where my culture, we just don't even talk. Mental health is not even they still think it's taboo. Let
me ask you something, just for everybody's knowledge. When you say my culture, what culture would you say?
I'm Pacific Islander.
You're Pacific Islander from Guam. So a Latin culture.
Yes.
Latin culture.
Oh, yeah.
And anybody that's familiar with Latin culture knows that we're, in general, extremely religious, Catholic, Catholicism, and very, very family oriented. Doesn't matter what's happening in your family. You keep hush hush and you show respect. Do not change the dynamic at all. If you change the dynamic, you're causing too much trouble, right? Exactly. And that's the culture, right or wrong, right, wrong, indifferent. That's what it is. Not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not judging the culture in any way, shape, or form. That's just in general what it is. Mm-hmm. And you don't air your dirty laundry. You don't talk about the problems at home, but you can gossip about anybody else's problems.
Yes, you can.
You can talk about everybody else's problems till you fucking go blue in the face, but don't talk about your own.
I know. You can talk about.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Because it's not wrong.
It's true.
The old ladies, they sit and they just.
Yep,
yeah,
they gossip.
We can't talk about ours. Like,
but you can't talk about your
right now. Talk about me. They were like, "Why did you do that?"
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
How they are.
Oh no, yeah, I know exactly how that. Now, Pacific Islander, that from Guam, that Latin culture is a little bit different. But my family's from Mexico, originated from Spain, so it's very, very similar. Latin culture is very similar.
But we're mixed with the Asian culture too, so it's like. Yes.
Oh, that's even more like family. I would say even more. I mean, they're very on par.
Don't air dirty laundry,
right?
At all. Like what happens in the house? Even you have to walk outside with a smile on your face, even after you just got. Sorry, nothing. Even if you just got, you know what I mean. You have to go out, walk out.
Even if you just got.
Like if you and your husband were fighting and it was like brutal, like gunk, like.
Physical. If it got physical.
And as soon as you walk out the door, you have to put a smile on your face, like nothing happened just like 2 minutes ago.
I just walked into the door. That's what it was.
And that's how you're supposed to do.
Right.
And you just, and like nothing.
Right.
Oh yeah. So that's why I'm saying it's rough. It's been rough.
It's not right or wrong, in my opinion, unhealthy. But you know what? If that's your culture, I do not judge you based on your culture and how you live your life.
But then, I'm the rebel one. So,
right. I want to push forward through this a little bit. You made through it. You got through this, right? And
it was a fight, though.
And we hear you on. I hear you. I could only imagine.
My husband gave up on me.
Huh?
He gave up on me. He was like. He was done. He goes, I'm tired of helping her. Like he was always like there to try to help me. But, I think we got older and it was just like, oh, whatever, like he knew that I was good, but then we crossed paths again and then here we are.
So take me through that.
Meant to be.
Take me through that. You're getting out of this abusive relationship.
Yes.
And he's still kind of around because you're still best friends.
I'm still in contact with his sister, of course.
Still in contact with his sister, still best friends. So how did that transition? How did you go about that transition from going away from this abusive relationship, being a single mother, and now meeting your husband?
So I was able to go back to college, and I found a way to get rid of, he found somebody else too. So it was like when he found somebody else, he was leaving me alone. Mm-hmm. And then I went back to Kansas again. back to the room where it all started. And I started talking again to his sister and hanging out. And then found out he's not married and still, doing the single guy stuff. And we just started talking again. He was in Korea. Gosh, I remember this so long. I remember this. He was in Korea, and it was when we finally could go on Skype or whatever. We can video chat.
Mm-hmm.
And it started that. It all started that way. And
but what I guess the question is, what drew you to start talking to him? Because obviously you're just hanging out with the sister, and then all of a sudden he comes back.
We were actually just as friends. He was always there for me, no matter what. He always said I was going to be your friend. So when I went back, and of course hanging out with sister, hey, what's your brother doing? He reached out, and his sister's like, oh, she's not with him, and so we just started reaching out like friends. Ended up just hanging out. He was in Korea. I'm like, oh, we'll chat and give him something to talk, just to talk. Get to finally know each other, because I kept pushing him away. I would tell him, you're such an ugly son of a bitch. Because his sister got me to open up and cuss. And, after what I went through, and he was always like coming, he goes, I'm going to make you my wife. And I was, you're such an ugly, like as a joke.
Right.
And this whole time, but he would send me flowers. He would just nice gestures, and it felt so good. Like, wow. Because I was so scared to be in a relationship again, and me and my daughter. Mm-hmm. And then it just ended up.
You ended up catching feelings at some point.
And we got married, and but he is all military. Every morning, he'll wake up. I'm beautiful. Just in terms of, how do you say it? Words of affirmation. Very, very vocal about it. Very touchy-feely guy. I'm always like, God, can you leave? My girls would even say, will you guys get a room? Because he was such an affectionate man, but so military and family. We never put it together because of what happened with my first.
Right.
We just never, I never wanted it.
I just want to put this out there for all the men being told by the woman that they're attracted to that, no, it's not going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. I tell you what, this story tells me persistence pays off. Persistence pays off. This man had some patience and persistence.
I have no idea. I have to show you pictures when I'm like, why? And I kept asking his sister, he has all the other women. And there's a lot of women that love men in uniform. And I'm like, why aren't you going up? He said because he was so attracted to even though my situation with my first relationship was so bad, I was so loyal. I was that wife. I cooked, you know what I mean? Did the cook, clean, all that stuff. I was loyal. I didn't go out and party and do that, because he said all the other girlfriends he's had, they're wild. They're with him for his money. They want to just stay home, because a lot of people have this misconception about Army wives too, that when they get married, they're just going to stay home and not do nothing. I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to work. That's how it is. I'm not going to sit home and eat bonbons all day like Susan and Karen and whatever down.
You're not going to be the wife in the kitchen barefoot, naked, cooking dinner all the time. No, I get it.
And that's what a lot of people see Army wives as, and I'm not that way. Sorry, nothing against them.
No, and again, that's a general misconception, right?
Yes.
Because Hollywood, that's the only type of people you come in contact with. The idea, so he's kind of like a man after my own heart, right? When it comes to seeking out a spouse. I don't want somebody that just wants to stay home and do nothing. Mm-hmm. I want somebody that's driven to better themselves. I want somebody that's driven to be independent, to have a strong person that can take care of themselves and come to a realization that she doesn't need me to survive. She's choosing me to be a part of her survival. She's choosing me to be a part of her life. Then, at that point, she doesn't need me to take care of her. She just wants me to be a part of her life and allows me to take care of her. That is, to me, way more attractive and way more appealing than somebody that has to rely on me for that's my personal opinion.
You saw how I was with, like, when he deploys, how I was doing it. Like, he knew that I was like, babe, I got it. Like, I'm not the one crying all day long, because a lot of wives, they can't hack it.
Right.
And I was the one, because he did a lot of tours that sit at home. And I'm like, I got it, babe. We have to. That's how we work.
How long after you guys started talking again did it take for you guys to get married?
Did he take for what?
For you guys to get married.
Oh, a year? No, 2 years.
2 years.
My date. So I hope we need to edit something out. Dates are kind of hard for me right now.
That's fine. That's okay. That's all right. Don't worry about it. Like, I don't think we won't have to edit out. Just admit, I don't remember. I'm not entirely sure. That's okay. But
I have to do this. You know why I'm also doing this? I got to be honest. 7 months ago, I did something.
Mm-hmm. Take your time.
That's why I don't work in healthcare anymore.
Take your time.
I was ready to go, and I had to be.
Take your time. Remember, this is your story to share. Okay.
I know. So this is why because I gotta and try. My therapy is trying to remember dates and putting times together.
Okay. Hey, here's the thing.
Because I can't remember some of the stuff.
That's okay. Here, Melissa, I'm gonna stop you. Melissa, I'm gonna stop you. Look, you're trying. All right? You're trying. You're trying to become better. I understand. But you're trying to be better. Right? And there is nothing wrong with having hiccups during the process of you healing. Okay? You're going to have hiccups. You're going to have slips. You might find, it's, you know what? It happens. Mental health and us getting better with our mental health and the depression that we are dealing with, you will have hiccups. It's going to happen. You're going to feel bad about some things that you feel like you should remember and you can't.
I shouldn't have done that to my girls, though.
Well, again, you're beating yourself up. You didn't do it. When you made the decision to do whatever it is that you did, you weren't thinking about everybody else. You were thinking about yourself. That is okay.
I know. And I just wanted to be with him because, like, of course, he drank a lot as a typical military husband, but we had so much fun. Like, we danced in the kitchen. And we had so much fun. We did so much together. He was the man every woman wanted, and I had him, and it's
still fresh. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's still fresh.
We're not perfect or anything, but he made life better,
right. Which goes back to my point about how military servicemen and women cannot be lumped into a group of good or bad. He was a good human being in the military. You had a relationship with a bad human being that was in the military. He happened to be a good human being that was in the military. Mm-hmm. But that goes back to my point that human being, he was just a person. He was a human being with his own characteristic, his own personality, and it worked well for you guys. It meshed with yours. So when people
I was an escape too, but the last tour is what got him. Like the last tour, when it really got to him, and he was moving up in rank, and then that's when he started drinking. The drinking was so heavy on the weekend.
During this point in time, and we'll go into it. We went into how you guys met and everything, and I appreciate you sharing the story. Again, even though you thought he was ugly and not your type, persistence paid off for him.
Oh, he was always persistent with me. Yeah.
Again, all you ugly guys out there,
it does work. keep trying.
Don't be creepy. Don't be creepy. Don't be creepy.
He was creepy too. It's like, did you just send me that picture? Like, what was that? Yeah.
Was that an unsolicited? Are we talking about unsolicited dick pics here?
I'm like, so I'm like, I don't want.
Oh my God. Anyway, I really do appreciate you sharing.
Drunk nights, it was like, what? Did I just open this? And I'm like, yeah. He was, you have no idea. He would do it still. He would probably still do it to this day. If I was at the store, I would get random pictures like that. And I'm like, what the fuck? My husband, he liked to joke. Like, he really.
I think that's hilarious. I think it's funny as hell.
Yes, and I'm like, what if her daughter opened my phone? Like,
it's a good thing you weren't next to your pastor when you opened up that phone.
That damn alcohol, though, that's what does it. He's like, we're so opposite, though. We were so completely opposite, but we worked together. We meshed. We made it work.
Well, opposites attract because it brings balance. That's why opposites attract so well. I want to go into what it was like being a spouse with somebody in the military in a healthy relationship now. Now you're in this healthier relationship with your husband, and you're the wife of a serviceman that's being deployed, and at some point you get pregnant again because you have 2 children. What was that like for you as he was in the military, as he's doing the job, as he's being deployed, and stuff like that? What was that like for you and the family at home? Without him there, I want to make sure. I want to make sure that I specify. Without him there, when he was deployed, when he was gone, what was it like for you and your kids?
It was hard because you're in a different city. You have no family. You have to rely on, especially if you just moved to that, you have to rely on people. So they have systems set in place for wives called FRG. And so it's kind of like Army wives getting together, and I just never fit in. So what ended up happening is my husband, I would end up staying with my parent. I would go back home to Washington and stay with family when he deployed. So then I'd have some money.
Okay. So
that's how we did it. And because there's that misconception too, when a husband's deployed, spouses cheat, right? Mm-hmm. That happens all the time, and that's what everybody's in here. But, well, they just married the wrong. All I say is because you just married the wrong one. Because I'm 100% when I'm married to my husband. I don't see it, like my eyes don't get. I was too worried about him being gone, like him not coming home, constantly looking out the window. And then I have 2 girls to take care of. That was my main focus, then worried about something else. Mm-hmm. And then I homeschooled our daughters too. So homeschooling was big. I guess I didn't want them to be introduced to the crazy world we live in. So my girls were homeschooled for a while my husband was gone. And I also was going to school. And I was also working. I wasn't that stay-at-home mom collecting whatever $900 it was. Like, it was not. This is what people need to know. It is not a lot of money either. It is not. A lot of men, and this is truthful, I'm going to be honest, a lot of men deploy because of the money. A lot of them deploy because they don't pay taxes for the time they're deployed. They get paid extra. The spouses do. That's why a lot of them deploy. It's the financial backing to take care of their family. And I'm putting this out there. If nobody agrees, that's how I felt. My husband was doing it for me and my girls, for us to have that extra money for us. Mm-hmm. He did that for everybody. He was here. He will tell you, he deployed a lot because it was to help, more money to help us, to make it, because it's not a lot of money.
So whenever he deployed, you'd go home.
I would
and
stay with family because he didn't want me to be alone.
Okay. What was it like when he came back from deployments?
Oh, bad. Like the first. There's no. So.
I don't want you to explain his side of the story. I want to know what it was like for you when he came back. It was hard.
The first few months, it's like a hollow shell. Okay. He'd do his normal. He'd get up, do his normal thing, come back home. That's when he'd start drinking. You couldn't drink in Kuwait the last deployment, but when he got back, this last deployment, my husband was drained, like mentally drained, and I think this is when all his health issues started. He came back in 2014, was his last deployment, and he was different. This time, he was different from the last. Like this last deployment, he just couldn't get his mental. It's different. It took me longer to get my husband back, but I never got him back fully because he was trying to move up in rank. So he didn't show it as much because there's, you know how it is in the military. If you want to stay in, you got to continue to progress. You got to move up in the ladder, whatever. It was a lot different because he held it in differently. Because he, like I said, he had to be tough. He couldn't show weakness. Because if you did, you're right. The way he told me, it's like, that makes no sense. There's nothing. They're afraid to talk about their feelings. They can't cry. If they cry in front of their sergeants or whatever, they talk. They call you a pussy. They call you, I've heard it. I've seen it. So that's why they're afraid to talk. Let me tell you, he does cry, but as soon as he puts that uniform on and he's out there, it's different. He was different. That's why I decided to separate, because when I saw his what he was because he had to be tough for his soldiers, and so he had the weight on his shoulder too, because here he had these new enlisted coming in, and he was their mentor, and he was their sergeant and the NCO, and they look up to the NCOs. So you can't show weakness. And I felt then he started doing combatives and stuff too. A lot of his battles are different than the younger ones now. The younger ones now, the newer soldiers going in, are more open about their mental health. My husband's dates, even my dad, they won't talk about it. My husband won't. He didn't. He finally started opening up when his health started. This last deployment, his health was starting to go down. Like, I could tell a change, and I had to push him. And then the cancer. I knew it.
I want to stop you for a second, because, and I don't mean to be rude. Oh. Hold on. Take a deep breath. You're good, Melissa. You're doing a great job.
The Army so much that he didn't like even though he was fucking hurting up here mentally, he didn't want to show it.
Look, take a deep breath. You're doing a great job at telling this story. I'm letting you know. Okay, you're doing a great fucking job. You are jumping around a little bit because I can tell you have a lot to say, and you have a lot of feelings behind everything, right? You have a lot of feelings behind what you want to say, but you're jumping around a little bit.
I don't want to put the military down.
You're not. Here's the thing. You're not putting the military down. Don't worry about the perception. Remember,
for me.
Here, Melissa. Remember, this is your truth. Okay? This is not anybody else's truth but your own. Okay? You're doing a phenomenal job at telling your story. I'm just trying to reel it back a little bit, and I'm going to try to help guide you through it as best as I can. All right.
I just wish they had more help for the guy.
You keep coming back to your husband's last deployment, and you noticed that you said something that really caught me. You said something that really caught me. You said when he came back from his last deployment, it was way harder for him to find himself again.
Yes.
And that caught me. That caught me because what that tells me is his previous deployments, he would come back, have a little bit of a change, but he was able to come back to his himself, the person you knew. But this last deployment, it was a lot harder for him to do so. And it's something that I want to touch on because there is a time period when anybody goes and does something that's out of the norm. There's a transition period that you have to give sometimes to that person. You have to give them a little bit of time to come back to reality, back to the different reality. Over there was a reality. Over there when they're deployed or when you're on the job, that's a different reality than when you come home. The home life reality is completely different. And it takes a little bit sometimes to readjust. There is a readjusting period. And when you said that, it struck me because it's very similar to first responders. It's very similar to anybody that goes through a traumatic experience, period. When you go and do something that's so stressful, and then you come back home, and the people that don't understand what you went through or what you experienced are totally expecting you to be that same person you were before you left, are now upset. They don't understand why. You brought up a really good point. There is a readjustment period. And for anybody that's a spouse, that is something you should think about. That is something you should maybe, be aware of.
And they don't. They just throw them out there again.
A lot of them don't realize. And that's why military and first responders and lawyers and doctors have the highest divorce rates. Because there is a misunderstanding of the people that they get molded into being. Excuse me. But he was able from previous deployments. It would take him some time, but he was able to come back, have that readjusting period, and become the husband and father and man that you knew. But you did notice a change.
This last time, yeah.
Yeah. But the last time,
his brain, I think his mental state just couldn't take it no more.
Did he share with you anything that happened while he was deployed the last time, or you just noticed that he wasn't coming back? He wasn't readjusting the way he usually did.
He wasn't readjusting the way he used to because he took on a bigger role in the military. Like I said, he had so many others. He was different. And I don't know what happened that caused him. I think my husband was just exhausted.
Okay.
When you see he deployed so many times and you just see it and see it. And he was doing it for us, but that's this last time, just everything about him changed. He wasn't as energetic anymore. He put on some weight. He wouldn't do PT. He struggled to get up. They didn't have. I said, why don't you go talk to a counselor? He didn't want to. He goes, I'm fine. And I know he wasn't. So there was a kind of started disconnecting there too. He wouldn't talk. He would just sit on the couch, come home, sit on the couch and just gaze. And what happened, and I would ask him what was wrong and he wouldn't tell me. And then sometimes tears would just roll down his eyes. And I'm like, what do I do? And it's like, you need to go talk to somebody. No, I'm fine. I've never seen my husband like that. Like I said, this last deployment, my husband was not a crier either. He would have to go step outside if something was sad. He now would watch something on TV, the ASPCA or whatever thing, and he would cry. So I would always try and talk to him and ask him and what's wrong, and he just kept telling me, he goes, I'm tired. I'm done. And he finally would tell me stories about what happened when he's drinking. And it's like the horror in my husband's eyes of what he saw. And he said, I'm mentally drained. I can't do this no more. But he goes, but I love the Army. I don't want to show them. I don't want to give up, And then the next day, when we go to work, and he's sober. The sadness in my husband's face some of the days. And he wouldn't share. He didn't want to share because he was scared to share.
How did that make you feel as a spouse?
I felt like, because he wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't say, hi, beautiful. Like it was almost, he had the energy to he just started saying, I don't even like myself. He used to get up and, macho man, whatever, be in the garage and lifting and, running 5 miles. I just don't know what happened this deployment that made my husband the way he was. Mm-hmm. I don't know. He never told me.
How did that affect the relationship this last
deployment? We started arguing more. Like we've never really argued like that before over little things. He wouldn't want to go to the store with me like he usually does. Because here I am, antisocial, right? I'd say, babe, let's go to the grocery store. He would always go with me. Certain sounds started getting to him too. The TV can't be up so loud. Like he would yell. We here in Texas, our house was pretty big. It's like 2,700 square foot. He could literally hear our daughter's TV that was like on the other side of their house, other side of the room, anything that dropped. So his senses and everything was even off. Like, I believe my husband was just drained, like exhausted. And I think he started, I don't know if it's the older you get, then he started having flashbacks. Because when he would drink, he would talk about what happened in Iraq in 2003. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's when stories start coming out. So if he drank, I always say don't drink liquor because you get really bad. You start blacking out. But then he started talking war stories like he was young again. And I don't know if something just triggered him this last time. And then just the flood of memories that he's seen, and it's bad stuff. Like, my husband never talked about this for years until this last deployment. Something triggered him there, and I don't know what it is. But maybe my husband held it in for so long that he was finally, maybe it was a way for him to open up about it because he held it in for so long. And I was the only one that would listen to him. And let me tell you, when you move up in rank too, your friends start falling off. So my husband didn't have no support. And he let me tell him to go call for counseling or, go to sick hall and say you're having anything mental. That's not talked about. And people are going to say, oh, it's changed now in the military. Bullshit. That has not changed. Ask a soldier around my husband's age if they're going to go to sick hall and say, hey, I'm battling my emotions, or I feel like, how do you say, I'm starting to feel depressed. Ask a soldier right now if they would go to sick hall and say that. They won't. So there's this thing I'm reading, break the stigma. The stigma is taken care of. No, it's not. It's not.
Not yet.
Not yet. No. So, but like I said, I think my husband held it in for so long. He was exhausted. He saw too much. He was done.
And this affected the relationship at home. How?
Oh yeah, it affected us. It affected my daughter. Like we had fun. I wanted to show you the differences because my brother brought it up to me. When they were going through photos and stuff, they're like, Melissa, you can see the difference in like the years, and then within the last 5 years, five or 6 years, you could see the difference in my husband. And he didn't want to get help. He's fine. Well, he took to alcohol, and that was his medicine every weekend. My husband drank every weekend. When I'm at work, he would drink, and then he would hide his drinking. I would find liquor bottles. So now we're going to get into the raw and heavy stuff. There's times my husband and I mean, we did so good. And then, like I said, we would literally fight, not fist fight, but and my husband was a big guy. He never would come up to me and just like, I knew something was wrong. With the arguments, my girls were even afraid sometimes. Because he would just lash out on them. Like, he'd just lash out. If they made a certain noise, let me tell you, we would all just run, because he would get up like he's about to shoot someone. Get up, like it's going to come after you. We had to start walking on eggshells. My daughters were never ever scared of him until they're like, Mom, is Dad drinking? And I'm like, yeah, he's just having beer. My girls will lock themselves up in the room. Because
when you brought this up to him, as a spouse, you're concerned, obviously, because you're noticing this change in behavior with him, and you're noticing that he's using alcohol as a Band-Aid. He's using alcohol as something, as medicine that's not a healthy medicine, by the way. What was it like when you brought it up to him, and how did he react to it?
He cried. So when I started talking to him about that, he would lock himself up in the room. Because he felt so bad because he didn't want to hurt our daughters.
So he realized there was a problem.
He realized there was a problem when he started seeing my girls distancing themselves from him. Okay. And then he felt so bad. And I would push it. I worked in mental health. Mm-hmm. And I would push him to get help, but he refused. He's like, I'm okay. He would be fine. And then he dropped, but he would be fine. And then it was back to.
Did he ever seek help for his drinking?
For his drinking? No.
Okay. Because, you mentioned a couple of times that during this process, during this last time, his last deployment, he comes home. Obviously, he's acting different. He's behaving different. He's using alcohol as a suppressant. And then at some point, he's diagnosed with cancer.
So what had happened is, I think, this is my theory, because now it does make sense. My husband already knew he had health issues. Mm-hmm. But he didn't want to tell me. You get what I'm saying?
Right. So you don't know exactly when he knew about his health issues.
So, like I said, it changed when he came back. Mm-hmm. So I think that was weighing on him, and he didn't want to be that. He had to be strong for everybody. I think that was weighing on him so much that he didn't want me to worry. And then, his health. And I believe, because even when we finally got the oncologist, they're like, your husband has had this, because melanoma can be healed. It can, when it's found, I don't know if you heard, when it's found soon, it can be. Uh-huh. So I think my husband already knew. He was mixed diagnosed because I've been like so obsessed with his medical records. because they said it was adult acne. But I think my husband was hiding his health issues from me because he didn't want me to worry. But it it made it didn't he didn't realize that it changed the dynamic of our family though, because he was trying to close us out, and push us away. And let me tell you, I think my husband was pushing me away. He didn't want me around. He didn't want me to be with him. And I find out it's because his health was slowly going down. He knew about it. He didn't want me to take care of him. He even said that when I would stay home, and when I quit working to take care of him, he goes, "I want you to leave me. You need to leave me because I'm not the man you married."
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting thought process that a lot of people have, especially towards their loved ones, that when they feel like they become a burden, or they feel like they become more of a problem than they are a solution, they feel like it's better if you just go,
He wanted me
because I don't want to be this burden. I don't want to be this issue that you have to deal with, because I love you so much. I don't want you to have to deal with this.
He was pushing us away so hard.
And the idea is so you, his loved ones, don't have to. It's okay that he's screaming in the background. It's okay, totally okay. It's no big deal. His loved ones, he didn't want to put them through any more strife, because he knew how much you cared about him. He knew that you loved him. And because of that, he knew that it would hurt knowing what he was going through. Right? And it's this weird idea that we have when we're going through depression.
Why do men do that?
It's not just men. It's not just men. It's human beings in general. When there's something going wrong or something going on that we feel like is going to be a strife or a struggle for the people that we love, we want them to not have to struggle. So we feel like the self-sacrifice of dealing with it on our own. Again, it's a misconstrued notion in our head, but the thought process is, I love you so much, I don't want you to have to deal with this.
And he didn't want to show he had this no weakness. You can't show no weakness.
Right. And the thing is it's not weak. When you're sick, you're sick. When you're sick, you're sick. Whether it's your mental health or physical health, when you're sick, you're sick. Period. End of story. It's not weak to be sick. You're sick. It is what it is type of thing.
It's crazy because I sit here and I think back, it's like he was pushing us away, because he didn't want us. He even said that when he got so bad, he's like, you guys don't need to be taking care of me. Just throw me. He goes, just dump me at a nursing home. He would say stuff like that, but I already knew his mental state was gone, because some days he didn't even know who I was when he got so bad. When the cancer it's the thing with the Army, because the guys don't want to go they don't want to go say they're sick. They go every day, even though they're fucking have 104 fever. They're out there running. Let me tell you, your husband's coughing up blood, and he's out there still running. And my husband was sick, and he would still go to work every day. And then he'd come home, and he just was so different. And then I realize now it's because he was sick, and he didn't want us to take care of him because we saw him as this weak guy. But every day he would still wake up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, because it was his job, because he had to do it. He can't show weakness. And there's a lot of them out there that still do.
Where do you think that idea of weakness came from?
And I don't know. They instill it. They're taught that you cannot show weakness. My husband was a combative instructor, for black belt combative instructor too. Mm-hmm. And when I see them train, because my girls and I would go watch them. They're pushing you, you can't be a pussy, and you know what I mean. They say that, So when you have, I don't know, like they're scared to show any kind of weakness. And if you do just probably like any other job. When you're looked at as the person as weak, oh, you don't belong in the military. You don't belong here. You're not, you can't. And they get put down a lot. I saw it. I seen it. My husband did it too. And I would get mad at him. It's like, I've been bullied growing up. Don't be doing that shit. But he goes, that's a way to show them they can't be weak. So that's how they, call somebody a pussy. And then of course, yeah. And then they're afraid to go to their NCOs to tell them they have issues, especially if it deals with mental. Like if they're depressed or they're crying, like, stop crying, you're a pussy. No joke. There's a lot out there. They say that the stigma's over. No, it's not.
It's not.
I work in mental health, and I see that active duty soldiers coming to the hospitals. I mean, and I'm tired of it. It's on social media. It's out there. Oh, the stigma, mental health. We're doing something about it. No, you're not. Because why do we still have 22? Now it's gone up. Why do we still have that then? They just put it out there so that it can, how do you say it, calm us down or something? No. My husband will tell you, no. And if you do go seek that help, like you better be ready to get booted out the door. And nobody wants to.
The idea of weakness is an interesting one, right? And the reason why I say that is we believe that falling into the stigma is the machismo way to go. It's the tough way to go. You keep your mouth shut when something's bothering you. You keep the mouth shut when something's killing you inside. That's the way to do it, right? And to do to do anything less than to keep your mouth shut, or let me rephrase, to do anything more than just keep your mouth shut about what you're dealing with would mean you're weak. The funny thing is, the last time I checked, to do something that is not the norm, to fight against a stigma, means you're fighting. And you're not just standing in line with everybody else. It actually takes strength. When you're not doing what everybody else is doing because they believe it's the right way to do it, yeah, that actually takes some strength. It takes some mental fortitude to stand out. It takes some mental strength to be the guy or girl to break the norm. Right? So to start sharing what's going on and to start letting people know, hey, this is what's going on with me. I'm aware of it, and I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm aware of it and that I'm battling with this, and I'm not afraid of your fucking opinion of what it is that I'm battling with and how it's affecting me. To me, to me personally, that shows more strength than somebody that's just like, I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to be judged. You're scared. You're afraid of repercussions. That to me is weak.
Exactly.
That to me is weak. Being afraid and scared of repercussions, being afraid and scared of public opinion or your peers' opinion, to me, that's weak. That's weak. You're allowing the fear to overcome what's actually needing to be fought against.
Yeah.
Right? So, breaking the stigma and not giving a shit what your peers think or what your superiors think, because you know sharing is going to actually be beneficial for you. That takes strength. That takes some mental fortitude because you're breaking the norm. You're not falling in line. You're deciding your own fate. You are fighting for yourself, and that takes strength.
And it's sad because talk to a soldier right now, he won't say anything. You know what I mean?
I think in general you're right. I think in general,
put me here, and let's say my husband, if he was still here in his uniform, he will not say nothing. He will not say anything. Can't show weakness.
And again, I think as a general statement, that's true.
But once they leave,
more likely than not, that's true.
And once they leave is when they open up. Some of them do. Some
Right.
of them
Some of
don't.
them do, some of them don't. The idea is instilled in them so strong that even when they leave, they still feel like they got to keep it bottled up. Just look at your Vietnam vets. It's as
Oh,
simple
yeah.
as that, right?
And
So
then you hear stories. Oh, my goodness. Like,
I'm gonna take this into a little bit more of a deep conversation now because I want to give you a chance to share the process that was your husband's passing.
oh,
Okay. And I want you to share this process because I think that this story needs to be told. I think that the avenues that you tried to find help and everything else,
oh,
things that worked, the things that didn't work, I think those need to be shared. And I think those need to be put out there so other
when the
individuals.
transition out, yeah, it was rough. But there's, yeah. That I don't mind talking about that because that's what.
No, I'm not talking about transition down. I'm talking about
No.
at his passing.
Oh.
The lack of support and
Mm-hmm.
the show of support. I want to hear both sides. I don't want to hear just the lack because I know we
The
can
lack of support?
we can concentrate on the bad, easy. But
Okay, so when my husband passed away, even before you transition out, they don't give you who do you call? What do you do as a veteran? He was a disabled veteran. So my husband was fighting disability. And this is where we're gonna start because this is what's gonna piss me off.
that's good. Be pissed
The
off.
day my husband died, and I was gonna show you the letter because you know how people are with receipts, it's what it's called. For the third time, my husband was denied disability. The day the judge signed his third denial was the day my husband had a heart attack and fell in our room after using the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
3 times, like, disability. My husband had cancer, stage 4, dying of cancer, had all these ailments from a list of disabilities from the VA. To be told for the third time with an attorney, he's denied disability, that he still can work. Tell me how that is possible with all the pictures that my husband, like, my husband could barely even walk and get out of it, even take a shower. He has cancer. He has a list of disabilities that was caused as an active
Due to the job. Due to the job. Yes.
To be denied, not once. Okay, once we were told, okay, you get denied once. Twice. And then the third fucking time, the day my husband, like he felt it in him that the fight was over. The judge, I'll show you the letter, January 19th, 2021. When she put her signature on that, and I didn't get the letter till 6 weeks after my husband died. They only give you 60 days from the date of that letter, which is January 19th. I had 2 weeks to file appeal. My mind's messed up. How am I going to file this appeal? I just lost my husband. So then I contacted the attorney and they don't want nothing to do with me. So here I am on the phone. We just moved to Oklahoma to our house. We sold everything we had here in Texas because my husband was forced to retire. He was up for promotion, sergeant major, which is the last promotion of enlisted, but to be told he couldn't because of his health. So while my husband was diagnosed with cancer, now he was still active duty.
Mm-hmm.
He was what is called terminal leave because he had 6 months of leave. So that's how I was able to the Gold Star Wives, because it has to be a service member that was active duty.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that transition and the timing, it's not an honor to have, but I think they put me in there to pacify me. So my husband wasn't 100% disabled from the VA. He was up to get looked at. People think he was. Passed away. So we moved up there. We have to drive an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, to a VA hospital for my husband's treatment. I found him a good oncologist up there. I didn't want to fucking do with the VA anymore, but to drive 2 hours for treatment. the VA doctor called him, I remember that day, and told him, "Sir, just put ointments on your sores because of the pandemic." And the look on my husband's face is like, they sent him, like, my husband was on 12 different meds, every pain med you can think of, just to, like, how do you tell somebody he has melanoma, his skin's just, like, to just put ointment on it? That's the VA for you. And then he has appointments and he get rescheduled because of the pandemic. The doctor that I found for him in Oklahoma City said if I brought him like a year before, he could have been saved, because she said he had the worst case melanoma she had ever seen. Because if you saw my husband, like, he had sores everywhere. My husband couldn't even walk. He barely could even walk into the courtroom for the fucking judge to tell him he's not disabled. And he's walking in there, like, barely walking with all the sores on him. Like, come on. Like, my husband, like, served 23 years to get shit on like this. And that's why, and only the firemen were there for us to even help me. They even would ask if I need my lawn mowed. And then retirement set up for me. Let me tell you, I get $400 fucking dollars a month. How am I surviving? Selling everything we have.
You feel like you were failed by the military?
They booted him out.
Do you feel like you were failed by the U.S. military?
I was failed by them. I still am. They're still not doing nothing.
Are you still in that fighting? Are you still processing and still fighting everything?
Oh yeah. So I have this denial letter. Finally found an attorney that's going to help me appeal my husband's disability, but it doesn't help now because he's gone. You know what I mean?
It's not going to bring him back. Absolutely not.
I got my husband's medical records like this. I have it all. It's right here. I was going to show you. And all his pill bottles. Just to.
Let me ask you something. If you could say somebody from the VA very high up was listening right now, somebody that could make a change, what would it be that you would tell them that you believe would be beneficial so this kind of story wasn't happening to others?
They need better doctors. I don't think the doctors they have, or maybe they're not paid enough. I have no idea, because that's what the other doctor that I found for him, like, off, not having to do with the VA. Like, how do they not see stuff like this? And then I feel they need.
I want to make this clear. You are not bashing. You're not bashing them. All right. This is I know you're afraid to say stuff because you don't want to feel like you're bashing the military. You're bashing anybody that's serving in any sense of the imagination. However, if you feel like there needs to be some type of reform or some type of change, that's okay to say out loud.
I know. So you know what the excuse is for them? The pandemic.
Okay.
That's what happened. And when because my husband was trying to keep up with the burn pit thing too. There were so many dying. And then they used the pandemic so we've had 6 people. Even our neighbor passed away, no joke. This last year, my cousin just passed away. My one of my uncle's wife just passed away, and they're all military. Because they were not getting the lack of medical. My cousin was in the military, and he got out, and let me tell you, he was on kidney dialysis, and he's not even 50 years old. Yes. But he went to the same Iraqi freedom and all the operations of my husband. And at his age, yeah. So my husband was doing a lot for this burn pit thing because he believed a lot of stuff was going on. That was the one thing he was actually so obsessed about, was the burn pit thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I
explain the burn pit thing to me.
So there's been a lot of, so it's past 11 years. Issues have come up. Okay, this is what's starting. The VA is turning away veterans for health issues. And a lot of it is cancer. A lot of them are coming down with different kinds of cancer. So, and the VA is turning them away because they had a thing saying that, you know, if it's years after or not found within 12 months after coming home from deployment, then it's not considered service connected. So the past 11 years, there's been soldiers dying of cancer, young soldiers, 32-year-old, 32, not even 40. If you go to the Burn Pit Registry or the Burn Pit 360 organization, you're going to hear stories about young soldiers passing. See, nobody knows about this because they didn't want to put this out there. Well, I'm putting it out there.
I'm glad because I'm ignorant to this. I don't know what the burn pit is.
So all his ailments in the melanoma now is what I'm fighting. I believe it was due to a burn pit, the exposures, the toxins that they were burning over in Iraq when 9/11 hit. So my husband did tell me they would burn all kinds of stuff. They would go in and take over Saddam's castles and they would burn it to the ground. All the chemicals they were using, and you do get sick from them. So a lot of them were coming back from deployment during those times and are dying. But the VA is saying they're not responsible. It didn't happen. It didn't happen to that because if the medical issues they had lasted longer than 12 months or after 12 months, it's not considered service connected.
And that's isn't that fucked up? Because
right?
It's very fucked up because like for civil service, just to kind of make this a little bit relatable, in the fire service, you're like 4 times more likely to die of cancer because of what we're exposed to, right? And it wasn't until just a couple of years ago that passing away from cancer, even after retirement, was considered a line of duty death because they finally realized that you may be asymptomatic and or not show any symptoms or develop cancer until years later. You can develop cancer years later from the things that you're exposed to. I think that's a little fucked up because the science in itself shows that you can develop cancer years later from being exposed to a toxic chemical.
And I'm going to need to reiterate this. But it started 11 years ago when there was a lawsuit filed against the VA. Because nobody wants to sue them. Nobody wants to go after the VA. Nobody wants to go after them.
Right.
And I think he was military and went to be I'm going to read that story, a firefighter too. And he died young. They were on a mission because, like you said, it's only happened a few years ago. It's been like that since 2009. They just failed to bring it up. But now there's all this lawsuits and stuff that are resurfacing. My husband's been keeping track of it. So I feel like I'm picking up where he left off because now that they came out with symptoms and that can be caused by the burn pit exposure in Iraq because they burned all kinds of stuff. Now soldiers, it took 11 years. It took so many to die for them to now take some kind of responsibility. When a family won a huge lawsuit this last year, Biden just passed it December 28th, 2021. But now it's like, what happened to the ones that have passed that have been fighting for this? What happens to those families? Because this was dated back in 2009 when you guys said it's dangerous. And I don't know where it fell off in the system. That's what Burn Pit Org is trying to do. Because if this was in place in 2009 and you had turned away all these veterans, Why? Where did it fall off at? Why didn't it, Because they don't want to fucking take responsibility of the shit. They don't want to pay healthcare. They don't want to. We're digging into their pockets. So they rather let veterans die than give them that healthcare. They rather give immigrants all this money than help our veterans that have fucking fought. And it's so sad. And they're dying young because a lot of them got, 20.
Not only that, you have families that are dealing with something similar to what you had to go through. Exactly. And what your family's currently going through.
Like I talk to them every day. It's like, what happens to the families that have lost soldiers now? What happens now? Oh, now they're going to give them Purple Hearts. We don't want that. It's not about that. It's like they're forgotten again. I guess I just want to bring it up because nobody's talking about it. This burn pit thing. Not a lot of veterans know about it because they don't want them to know. They don't want them to register. I'm all about go register, go register. I tell everyone, I go on the lives and I said, "Are you a veteran? Did you serve in Iraq? Go sign the register. Do you hear about burn pit? My husband died from cancer. Well, and we believe it's from the burn pits. Please go get help. Now you can go get help. Now they open the doors for you to go get help. Let's see how long this works." Because now it gives all the ones that were denied any kind of health. There's a lot of them. My niece her husband's a veteran. He's battling this system because they don't believe it was caused, they don't believe the military or being a soldier or going to fight a war caused their PTSD or, their breathing issues or whatever. They don't believe it. It's like they have to prove, I don't know.
Your story is unique.
Sorry,
obviously.
I'm all over the place.
No, you're good. You're good. It's okay. Stop saying sorry.
I'm so passionate about this burn pit thing.
No,
I'm wanting to get soldiers and veterans to go register because my husband didn't have that opportunity and you guys do now.
Right. And there's a fight going on.
So many to die.
Right.
For this to pass.
Right. And your husband was one of them. Your story is not unique in that you feel like the VA and the military government
it's failed everybody.
Failed their soldiers and their families, right? And this is not, again, I want to reiterate, this is not to bash our
this is not to bash
military or
it's not like the organization, it's the people that work for them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying. You're not the first person that has wanted to and has fought to bring reform within the VA and how it treats our soldiers that have served for us.
That's what I want to do.
And you are, by sharing the story and what you went through and what your husband went through. And I really do appreciate you sharing that story. We have a lot of stories like this, not only when it comes to the physical health cancer, but with the mental health stuff. A lot of the veterans I've had on the show that talk about how the VA treated them, the first thing they say, it's the same story. The first thing they say, all the VA is caring about is they pump you full of drugs and send you on your way.
I got it. The 12 different bottles of meds my husband has? Yes.
Right. So their solution is we'll give them medication and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. Just give them medication. Don't worry about therapy. Don't worry about psychiatry. Just give them medication and call me in a couple months. Let me know how it's working out if we need to change. There's no other route. There's no, and mental health doesn't play into disability at all. Mental health doesn't play. It does now. It didn't for a long time.
Because if you don't take care of your mental health, that's why if you're not healthy and you don't take care of up here, you just slowly go faster than. That's what I believe has happened to my husband. He lost.
Yeah, the science shows that when your mental health, when you're depressed, when you have PTSD, when you're anxiety, your mental health, if it's not stable,
everything goes to shit.
Your physical health is affected just as much.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And it can take you down so fast too.
Right. People with depression have, stopped eating, have overate, succumbed to addiction. And these are all tied to our mental health.
Exactly.
If we were able to make mental health more of an important issue, not only for our civil service members, but for everybody, I truly believe it would make a huge difference in the outcome of our civil service members' physical health.
Oh, I believe so too. If there is, you're right. I believe so too. But it doesn't work that way with the military or the VA.
Not right now, but I promise you, there are people that are trying to fight this.
I pray that it works.
I'm one of those ones that are trying to fight this. I'm one of those ones that are trying to put a different avenue for our veterans and our first responders so they don't feel limited on where they can go to get the help. Because families like yours shouldn't have to struggle and deal with these things, especially once a civil serviceman makes the choice, man or woman, makes the choice to get better for themselves because they notice something's wrong.
We struggle.
Where do you go from here, Melissa? I know your husband died just over a year ago.
Honestly, I don't know. I just want to live for my girls and my grandson. So my thing was I didn't want people to forget the fallen. They sacrificed for us. They sacrificed for the flag. And I just didn't want people to forget my husband. I just wanted to share him with the world because he suffered and he shouldn't have suffered when he could have been helped, and I just want people to know that I'm not making this up. The VA, there needs to be a change in the VA, or they're just gonna continue to die, and they give up. Our veterans give up, and that's why we have this 22 a day. It's going to be higher if we don't do anything about it. It's going to go up. It's going to go up. It's going to continue to go up, and then you're going to lose families.
And I wanted to talk to you about that. Earlier in your story, there was a portion where you said you had a bout of that depression due to the circumstances and everything. And if you're willing, I would like to ask you about that. And what exactly do you tie that to? Obviously, there's a bunch of stress with family, the situation.
No help. So my husband's gone. My family, they drop off too. And I go and I ask for help because
you felt like you needed it.
I needed help. I needed financial help, right? Because I'm sitting waiting. Oh, you're going to get this and you're going to get that. And you wait months, right? You're behind on the mortgage. You're behind on the electric. You just lost your electricity gets shut off. So you go to them for help. And when they tell you, go back to work. Maybe you need to get it. They basically I was a soldier. Buckle up, go back to work, or you're going to lose your house and your car. And to constantly call the VA and, because I'm my mental state's over. I'm I need help. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my car. Nothing. And I felt hopeless for my kids. And I told them they didn't have to deal with me being like this. They already saw their dad the way he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I had nobody, and I have how am I going to take care of my family now? And I just was in a dark place. I had no one to talk to. Nobody called. Nobody came to check up on us. Nothing. And I guess I isolated myself. My daughters had to come back to school. And then I get so, planning my husband's funeral too. It's like I had to get into my daughter had to help me because she just got some money to pay for his funeral.
How soon after your husband's passing did you find yourself in this mental state where you were contemplating?
Like in June.
So about so about 6 months later.
Because you're just drowning in so much. And then you try to apply. You know how I've never had to apply for assistance, right? Ever. And we're in the middle of the pandemic. The mandate. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To get told that I can't even get welfare. I can't even get food stamps because your husband was in the military and you're supposed to get this money. Well, where is it then? Where is it? You can't even go to a food pantry. So this is why I want to do something for the families. As soon as they lose a spouse, there's nothing. You're left out. And then, like I'm saying, he just left military life, not even a year. And I lose my husband. Year and a half and I lose my husband. And I'm out in this, who do I call? I don't know what I've learned. I've had to teach myself what Red Cross, who to call Red Cross is, what certain different organizations work in civilian life. Because they tell you to call these organizations, TAPS, Wounded Warriors. I just want to say, I could cuss them out. They don't help nobody. And they get most help from the government. Wounded Warriors, TAPS, have they helped me? None. Let me tell you. And then they try to contact me this year because of my husband's anniversary, right? And I was testing them again because now that finally a little bit on my feet, because I just sold my car today. You go from living the American dream to just losing it all. And now it's not about material things. They took something from me that now it's like, I gotta fight. I gotta fight to save. I just gotta fight to save the next person because I don't want them to go through what I went through. I want to be able to be that first person because they send you to casualty assistance. They don't help. I want to be that first person that a widower call. I want to be their contact because I want to save them from what I just went through, where I wanted to almost kill myself and leave my kids because of the bullshit. Not only did they fail my husband, and now they failed my family. And I gave my husband, for years, I would sit and look out the window for years, and then now my husband's gone. Now I look out the window. It just sucks. And then mental health. What mental health do I have? I have to use my own insurance, and that's why I drive once a month to Oklahoma because I refuse to deal with the VA here because they'll send me to the VA for mental health. So I pay extra just to have a different doctor, and I drive to Oklahoma because I refuse to be part of the VA. Oh, you got health care, but you guys just took my husband from me. You're going to take me from my family if I go back into that system, and I don't.
I'm going to get you in touch with some people.
I just want help for parents. This is not okay. Not okay. No, my kids are without a dad. My grandson without a grandfather.
I'm going to get you in contact with some people that I think can help. That can help with the mission.
I guess it's just the real me. I'm wanting to express how I feel because I could say more and I could curse. I'm so upset with the V. I can't stand them. I swear.
It's you're not the only one.
It's disgusting, Josh. It's fucking disgusting to me.
You're not the only one with the passion that you have right now against this.
And then they just throw you out like, look, throw you out like trash.
What's one thing that you think that can change right now that would start making a change? Not necessarily the entire
We all
thing.
need to start talking, like, because they don't hear our voice. They don't hear us. I know, like, they don't. I literally would love to march with like 1,000 people to the White House to hear our story. The VA sucks because I don't think it's reaching them. I don't think it's reaching them because it gets stopped somewhere in the VA system. Because you think they want to take it up there? No, they won't. They lie. Whatever facts that they have about the VA, it's all a fucking lie. How do we, I wish we can get more people to band together because it's all a lie. The stigma thing with the military, oh, it's done and over. No, it's not. No, it's not. I just want to be a voice because I don't want this to happen to somebody else.
I think that, and I agree with you here. And this is where
I could just say
we're gonna.
one.
Oh, I think you said it. I think people need to start speaking up. They need to start sharing their stories. They need to start. They need to start not being afraid of the repercussions of sharing what traumas and what issues they've had to deal with within the VA system. And here's the thing. If the VA system is failing our military men and women and their families, something needs to change. It's as simple as that. Something needs to fucking change. And if you're out there listening and you're part of the VA and you're like, oh, well, they don't understand. Well, I am inviting you right now to come onto the show. I'm inviting anybody right now that is supporting and or defending the actions of the VA. I'm inviting you right here, right now. Come on my show and explain it to me.
And yeah.
Come on my show. Explain it to me. Make it make sense to not only myself, but to the people that I feel like it has failed.
Yes.
Because right now, your story, Melissa, is not the only story that is like this. There are so many stories. I cannot tell you. I have had people on my show. I've had veterans on my show that feel completely failed by the VA system when it comes to their mental health treatment. I have friends that feel completely failed when it comes to their disability when they get discharged. I have family that feels failed by our VA system on the benefits that they receive, even though they sacrificed their lives, their bodies, and their minds in defending this country.
Want to talk benefits too? Money? Let me talk that.
No, we don't have to go there because I already know.
No, but let me tell you, people think that we come into all this money. I think I told somebody the other day, I said, I have receipts. I'll show you proof because people are going to think I'm just making all this up. That's why I'm like, Josh, if anybody comes to you about, she's just lying, I'll print you up all the paperwork and I'm not afraid to show it to you. How much? $400 and something a month? You know what I mean?
No, I got you. That's where I think, but
$400 fucking a month. My husband's not even here. 400. So anybody out there is going to say that, she came into thousands and became rich. Okay, $400 is rich. Thank you very much for my husband sacrificing 23 years of his life for $400 a month to give to, because it goes to my daughters. And this is what got me to, my daughters are in college. Do you know, I'm picking up the slack for their college. They don't get college. They don't get shit. GI Bill is gone. What? Oh, your kids can go to school for under the VA. Okay, where do I find those resources? Can somebody tell me where that is? If somebody's on here, please. Because my daughters, there's a thing on the website that they pay for their kid. They'll pay for your kids to go to college. Where is that? I don't know. Chapter 35. Where is it? My daughter's been trying to apply for it. So that's why I have to sell a lot of things because my girls' education is more important than these fancy material stuff. Because that's what I want done too, is the kids, the children that are left behind from the soldiers that serve, the children that are left behind to be taken care of. They deserve it. They deserve to be taken care of. They don't have a mother. They don't have a father. My grandson will never, He's 2. He'll never know his grandfather. Give them the money. You know? That is disgusting. Give me a Purple Heart for what? That's why they now I'm getting all these things in the mail. It's like a slap in my face, Josh. You wait all this time when now I'm voicing myself, or I'm bringing up topics about the burn pit, or bringing up like I'm gonna, getting an attorney. Now they're gonna send me stuff. It's a slap in the face. How about all the times when my husband was laying in bed? Why didn't you bring him that? Bring him those awards. You wait till he's fucking gone and in an urn? That hurts me. So I hang up all the awards right here. That means more. I mean, my house is full. But the ones that he gets, that he's not here, because it's disgusting. You wait till now I'm fighting for something. You're gonna, because they're trying to shut me up. They're trying to shut me up, and I'm not gonna shut up. I always
you think they're trying to appease you.
Yes,
right?
But
okay.
What? Oh yeah, they're sending me things now. Like I said, all of a sudden now that I'm on social media, because I have friends that work for the VA, and I don't care who turns me in, whatever, because I'm saying facts.
Right, you're not saying anything that hasn't happened to you.
No.
So it's not like
I don't want money from them. I don't want nothing from them. I want them to hear. I want people to come out, call Josh, please, like, tell your story. It's okay,
Here's the thing. All of this causes stress within the realm that we call life. It just so happens to be we're in a system, civil service, that we feel fails us from time to time. Lately, it feels like they're failing us a lot more. Whatever the reason is, that's not the point. The point is we feel failed.
Yes. I wish you could insert photos on your to show the truth. But it's okay.
I'm not going to put your personal information out there and stuff like that. Hold on. I'm not done. Melissa.
No, I just want to thank you for letting me put this out there.
Absolutely. I can see your passion.
I know I'm all over the place, but I will calm down and I will get better. I'm taking care of my mental health. I really am. I'm trying to do better because I really need to get my mind better to fight harder, because and this is helping me with my therapy. It really is. Me putting out videos. I'm looking at photos because I'm trying to get dates together, because my attorney's like, you got to get, dates right. And I'm still trying to process that. I'm going to overcome that. I've been battling that guilt. I'm just happy my husband's not suffering, because he didn't need to suffer anymore. I just wish that he was here, and I want to honor him, and I want to be a voice.
I'm telling you right now.
He's trying to be a voice for everybody too.
I'm telling you right now, Melissa, you are honoring him. You are honoring him by sharing not only your story, but the story and the things that he had to battle with.
He's amazing.
You're speaking up. You're speaking up for him now, when he couldn't speak up for himself then, either because he chose not to, because he felt like he couldn't, whatever the case may be. You're doing it now.
Because I was scared to open up.
The excuses for at the time, they don't matter anymore.
No.
They don't matter anymore.
I'm like ready to go. Yeah.
The reason why you didn't in the past, that doesn't matter anymore, Melissa. It really doesn't. It doesn't. And it would be my suggestion to you to stop beating yourself up for it, because it's not going to do anything. It's really not. It's not going to change what happened. What you're doing now is you are using the sacrifice that was made with your husband and the turmoil and the trauma that you had to go through with what happened with your husband. What you are doing now is you're turning that into a story, into a mission to make sure that doesn't happen to any other family again. Is it going to stop every single thing? No. No. It would be unrealistic to think so. However, you sharing your story now and the way you're doing it on social media now is creating a change. And it's creating a change because you're being that loud voice. You're fighting, I'm going to say that again, fighting against the idea that you have to keep quiet because you don't, right? You are becoming and are the change that you believe needs to happen. And honestly, that I think needs to happen. Because like you said before, when I asked you, what's the one thing that you think could change right now if you could? And you said, people need to start talking. People need to start speaking up. You are perpetuating that. You are putting the quote unquote money where your mouth is, because not only you're not just saying people need to start speaking up, but not me, not my story. No, you're like, people need to start speaking up. Here's my story.
So that's what I'm saying. I hear so many complaints, right, on social media about this and that, but put it out there, put it out there for the world to hear, let's make a movement and let's get this, because I don't think it's getting to them, what's happening down here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we need to get it to the right people, because we're going to, you can complain. My husband had a thing. You can complain and complain and complain. What is that going to do?
It's not going to change anything that's happening.
No.
So here's what I'm going to do. I have a friend that's literally, I just had this conversation like 3 days ago with her. She's literally getting ready to start fighting the VA. Like fighting the VA for mental health change, for complete reform. Because she truly feels, with a lot of other people, that the VA system is failing not only our military members, but it's failing the families as well. So I'm going to get you in contact with her. Yeah, we'll get it taken care of. We will.
So our kid, like I said, my daughters, now there's no mental health for them. You know what I'm saying? What do we do about that? Forget about me, right? Forget about me. And I had a thing my husband started 4 years ago, and I still continue to do it, his Operation Care Package, and I do that every year. But our children, we have young widows, the children. There's widows out there. They don't get no help. And they have younger kids. So that's why I'm saying there was a time I'm like, they have it harder than me. When to have young children and to not have your spouse, and how do they survive, Josh? Because I don't know how I did it, but here I am, and I'm going to continue to fight and be the voice. I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel like a crazy woman, but I want to be heard. That's really all I want. I want to be heard. And it's all facts. Whatever people are saying, whatever veterans are saying, it's all facts, because I see it firsthand.
You're definitely leading your own charge in this, and you're not alone. I'm going to get you in contact with people that are like-minded, so you don't feel alone in this fight. I promise you're not alone in this fight. Okay, I promise you. I know it feels like you are because of the I
feel like I'm alone fighting this fight, but I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to go.
Well, it's the personal circumstances that make you feel like you're alone. Here's the thing. The more you speak out, the louder you get, you'll find fairly quickly you're not alone. And you're going to have more support than you thought you had. And I'm telling you right now.
You believe all things happen for a reason too, how everything just came full circle. Because I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm doing. And then I get phone calls and I'm like, it's happening now. So I'm like, I either go with it or, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm going to go with it. I know I don't make sense sometimes because that's me. I will get back to where I'm at, but I have all the research for you guys, knowledge, anything about the VA. And I've worked with them personally at the hospital here for years. It sucks. They cycle back through. How many of them want to commit suicide? And they come in daily. The 22 is not, it's probably gone up. And it's going to continue to go up if we don't say anything.
I'm going to help you with this. I'm going to help you with this because it falls in line exactly with what the nonprofit's for.
We need a movement.
And I tell you what, you're going to be a part of it. I'm going to get you in contact with people that are going to help you with this. that might be a couple of steps ahead.
I hope so.
I am. I'm telling you, I am going to do that. So here's the thing. I'm going to put you in contact with some people that I believe would be beneficial for not only you, but you can benefit them with the story that you have, with the research that you've done, with the proof that you have, and everything else. We're going to fight this. And we're going to fight this together. You're not going to be alone in this. All right? I promise you that. I promise you that.
Like an obsession for me.
Be careful. Be careful. Do not let this consume you.
Oh no, but I'm saying it's almost like because I'm with my husband stuff in the burn pit, but it's almost like an obsession to find false narrative, or how do you say it? I find stories and then I want to try to back it up and say it's a lie. You get what I'm saying? Like their articles they put out about them being this, taking care of their veterans. No, I find stories to back it up that it's not, it's incorrect. That I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? Because they put it out there for the media to think that they're this good, whatever organization, but they're not. They don't take care of it. So I want to back it up with us.
You will.
That these are all false. That's what I think.
And I am going to put you in contact with people that's going to allow you to do so. Because I have those contacts. Okay? I'm going to help you in this. I'm going to help you in this. You are out there, like you have gotten, I'm so proud of you. I love everything about you. Like, I want to say something on here. I don't want to get in trouble, but you can say whatever you want.
No, about the voting system. Got my girls on there like, please, like, vote for him. I even have my mom voting for you.
Oh, you're talking about the Cheer Choice Awards?
My mom's like, what am I voting for? My mom, I said, Mom, just go in there. My brother, go on this website and vote. They're like, I said, because I'm doing a podcast, and I said, just vote, because him and I have a feeling we got a movement going.
Yeah, and they're like, we absolutely do. We absolutely do.
They're like, we don't even go on TikTok. I don't care. Just go vote for him.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that.
I said, you guys are not gonna regret it. So now everybody watched you. I mean, my family, I post you on my Facebook. Mm-hmm. They don't do TikTok. And they're like, oh my God, he's so handsome. I'm like, he's taken.
Oh God.
My cousins, I'm like, I said he's taken. Because when they, the fireman thing, I'm like, he's taken.
Oh God.
No, I said, I'm doing my first interview with him, and I appreciate all the support from them. They're ready to hear it. Some of them are like, because our culture, like I said, they're like, Melissa, you can't talk about what happens at home. I'm like, I'm going to. I already started this months ago. I'm not going to stop now. I'm going to keep on going. And I feel my husband keeps me going. I got to do it for my kids,
I think more importantly, Melissa, you got to do it for you. And I know that sounds weird to hear. I know it sounds weird to hear. Like, don't put your kids first, put yourself first. Here's the reason why I say that. Because you got to be the best version of yourself to be able to give to your kids. If you're not that best version of yourself, you're not going to be able to give them anything. You're going to give them a broken you. And you don't want to give them a broken you. You want to give them the best version of yourself. I am 80 pounds lighter, so I have more energy. I lost 80 pounds this last year. Well, that's debatable on whether it was stress related or not.
It's debatable between what I did. I don't know if I want to share on here, but
okay, you don't have to. We won't go into that. Here's the thing.
No, because I decided to take myself off the meds I was on from the military. Clean, cold turkey, and I'm actually healthier than, like, physically healthier. Honestly.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. And I'm glad, and I really am glad to hear that you've taken the steps to continue your mental health treatment outside of the VA. I think that's an extremely healthy thing to do.
Drive. It's okay. It's worth it because I have a house up there. I have renters now. But isn't that sad though that we have to go outside of the VA, and when we have, that healthcare, it's sad because
I agree.
I'd be damned if they're going to take care of me.
I agree. And that's why I have the nonprofit, because I'm tired of our veterans feeling like their hands are tied when it comes to the VA, because we hear horror stories like this all the time. I'm gonna start winding this down. But before, it's okay. Before I do, I want to say, Melissa, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you
much.
for showing the strength that it takes to share your story and the struggles that you have dealt with. Thank you for sharing your husband's story. Thank you for sharing your opinions. Thank you for sharing your ideas on what can change. And thank you for speaking up. Really. I truly believe that the way anything is going to change is by starting to speak up, starting to voice the concerns, the opinions, and the ideas to make a positive change. And you're doing that, not only for yourself, but in hopes that it will stop this from happening to anybody else.
Yes.
And I want to say thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your story. I truly believe people can hear the passion and the ideas and your concerns through just hearing your voice, through hearing how you explain it, because how do you put all that emotion and all the want for change into a structured idea? It takes time, but when you're so passionate about wanting to see that change quickly, especially, you can hear how the ideas are flowing through your head, and you don't know how to categorize just yet. You're still a little, but here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It takes time to start working through that. You're only a year in.
I just
from your
want
husband
people to hear, like, this is real. This is what I wish I would have shared more about his health, but it was really bad. But I know
this is not going to be the last time I'm going to have you on the show. I promise you. We can go more into depth. We can go more into depth.
Other people in here so we can. I want them to. I wish they would open up more. Spouses especially. I want the spouses to start opening. I want them to start opening up and coming out, because there's so many spouses that are scared to talk, and I just want them. It's okay. It's okay to share your story. What are they going to do to us? We didn't sign the contract. We didn't sign our life away. It's okay.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what this platform's for, to share our stories of the struggles that we go through and how it affects us in our life. And not only our civil service members, but the families. Yeah. I'm going to talk to you once we stop the recording and everything, because I have a couple of questions for you later on about possibly helping us with a portion of the nonprofit that I'm working on. Still just an idea and a concept, but your story falls in line with where I want to take this portion of the nonprofit into. Other than that, Melissa, thank you again.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. This is an honor. Thank you for letting me share my story.
You're welcome. If there is anything that I can say to you, is don't stop.
No.
Don't stop. Continue being better for yourself. Continue your treatment for you first. Be careful of allowing the mission that you're trying to change consume you before you are 100% okay with what you have to deal with first. Beyond that, know that you have a bunch of support. You have a new friend in me, and you have new friends within the What Makes Us Fire family. And I promise you, I'll get you in contact with the right people. Tell your family I said thank you for letting me abscond you for almost 3 hours, and your grandson.
You're screaming in the background. Well, they were supposed to stay the night at my daughter's, but I needed her here because the car situation.
Right. And that's totally fine. Here's the thing about the podcast. I've had crying babies in the background. I've had a crying kid show up and sit in the lap of one of my guests. Look, the point is about the podcast and about who we are is that, remember, we're human beings first, and we deal with human being issues. Being a parent, being a grandparent, being a brother, a sister, a spouse, whatever. All those things are part of being a human being, and it's okay to show. For me, it's not a big deal.
I'm like, Legend, now you can scream. His name is Legend, by the way.
His name's Legend? That's badass. Like
My
from
husband named him.
Will Smith.
Yeah, I Am Legend. So
I Am
my
Legend.
husband is like, he's going to be like my legend, my legacy. And
That's awesome.
my husband knew he was going to be a boy too. Our daughter
That
kind
is
of
awesome.
did. Yeah.
Well, Melissa, again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Are you going to be in Vegas for the meetup in Vegas? April 8th and 9th?
I think so.
April 8th
Because
and
my
9th?
niece lived there.
Well, if you're there, you better come say hi.
Oh, I will.
All right.
I don't know if I'll go. We'll have to figure it out.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
I have my issues on Zoom. I don't want to talk about it because it's freaking drama about TikTok. It's okay.
You're good. You're good.
Some people I don't agree with, so.
Here's the thing. It's a great thing about life.
Okay.
You don't have to agree with everybody.
No.
Cool thing about...
It's so sad because you support everybody. I'm so nice to everybody. It's okay.
Don't worry about it. Just continue being you. Continue being you. Continue your mission. And
I appreciate it.
What Makes Us Fire family, go give... Where can they find you on TikTok again? What's the screen name?
Army Wife Melissa.
Army Wife Melissa on TikTok. Give her a follow. Check out some of her content. She's starting to share her story in a way that I believe is going to help. And I think the more people we have supporting this cause in reform within the VA, Veterans Affairs, I believe it's important. I really do, because there's too many stories, too many horror stories coming from the VA, and I think there's some responsibility that needs to be taken, and I think there definitely needs to be some change that happens, because our military men and women, our service members, they deserve better, and the families deserve better. So go check her out on TikTok, Army Wife Melissa, and show her some love and support. Y'all have fun, stay safe, show some love and peace out in the world. You never know who's going to need it. You never know if you're going to be the one to make the difference. Being the difference feels good. Be the change you want to see in the world without letting the world dictate how you see that change happen. Just continue to be better for yourself, and I promise you the world around you will get better. Much love. Peace. And say bye.
My motto, keep shining. Bye.
Keep shining. There you
Keep
go.
shining.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Melissa, better known as Army Wife Melissa, on her social media. I have a feeling this episode hit a few of you out there, especially those that can relate to the story quite a bit. You know, I've been hearing a lot of horror stories and a lot of bad press from the VA, from those that have reached out to the VA looking for help, looking for guidance, looking for some answers. And the reoccurring theme that I am personally hearing is the lack of compassion and the failure to recognize what is actually going on. Now, I can't say for sure or speak to the VA in any way, shape, or form. I have never been directly affected by it. But these stories, even if a quarter of these stories are true, something needs to change. Something absolutely needs to change. Our veterans are worth more than this, and their families are worth more than this. I hope Melissa's story shook some of you to the core, to the point where you will back her in her fight for change within the VA system. Now, don't get it twisted. I do understand the VA has helped some, it's helped a lot. But these stories are becoming more and more common. So something needs to be done. Melissa, thank you for your strength. Thank you for sharing your story. And remember, you have support here. You have so much more support than you do. It's that time of the show where I say thank you for following, thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing. Please continue to do so. If you are new here, please follow us on all of our social media accounts with the tag @WhatMakesUsFire on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. What else? Oh, LinkedIn. You could also email me at WhatMakesUsFire@yahoo.com. Just give me a minute to get back to you on it. I promise you I will. It just takes me a little bit to sort through all the emails. Also, if you want to learn a little bit more about the What Makes Us Fire nonprofit foundation or make a donation, you can visit WhatMakesUsFire.com. You could also get some merch there. All proceeds go to the What Makes Us Fire General Fund. Any and all donations would be greatly appreciated. It's through people like you who throw that penny or dime our way that are helping us grow to get to that point where we can get off the ground and start helping our civil service members. If you're finding yourself in a crisis right now and you need somebody to talk to, if after listening to this episode you're starting to have some thoughts in your head, I get it. But you need to get off that ledge. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 100% free, anonymous, and confidential. Make the call. Get yourself off that ledge. The number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, the number is 1-800-273-8255. If making that call isn't there for you yet, that's okay. SuicidePreventionLifeline.org. There you can find a multitude of resources to help you start your story on your recovery and in getting better. What Makes Us Fire is making the statement that the National Suicide Prevention Hotline and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.org are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with What Makes Us Fire. They are just two avenues that we greatly believe in. You know, there's a lot to say about what's going on in the world right now. There's a lot of change happening. A lot of things that are going to be putting us and our families not so much at ease. Now is the time to stop the division. Now is the time to stop the negativity that is not allowing people to just be different. Now's the time to show the support, the courage, and the love to each other that makes this nation so fucking great. Much love to y'all. Have fun and stay safe. Peace.